One day, this guy was hit by a truck. After this event, he was reincarnated in another world, and God gave him a certain ability. The guy began to use this power to grow vegetables. The guy stood in front of his vegetable garden and said that everything was going great. Long before that, the guy was standing in front of the divine gate, right from which the angels flew out. The guy looked at them and said he didn't understand what had happened. Then he remembered what happened to him, and he said that yes, that's right. He was hit by a truck. One of the angels turned to the guy who was standing in front of the main character, and the angel said that the next one could pass. The main character thought that this was who was in charge of the dead. The guy realized that it was finally the turn of the main character. He was very happy about it. But then the divine gate was closed, right in front of him. This surprised the guy very much, and he asked why the gate was closed. The main character heard the angel say that she was so tired. She also said that they were done for the day. The angel asked the other about what they had for dinner today, and the other angel told him that he wanted curry. The main character was very upset, and he said that he was left there alone outside the gate. He shouted to the angels and apologized to them. The divine gate began to open. One of the angels asked the main character about why he was still there. He said that the staff was supposed to take care of him. The main character replied that he was apologizing, and at that moment a man with a staff appeared in front of him and he turned to the main character. He told him that he would take him to God right away. The main character was very surprised by this and called this man a god. But the man told him that he was God, so it was natural. He said he was a good god anyway. It doesn't matter what others say about him. The main character looked at him in surprise, and he asked if the gods weren't transparent. God thought about it and immediately said that it was a little difficult, but you can say that. The main character's name is Usui. He is 17 years old. His cause of death is a traffic accident. God thought about it and said that it was both normal and abnormal. He said it was weird. He told the guy that his life expectancy should have been much longer. Usui was very happy about this, and he said that maybe it's something like fashionable lately. Reincarnation in the form of a god in another world. God answered him with a serious face that no, God could not be so wrong. Usui apologized to him. God looked at the guy carefully and said that nevertheless, there was a miss. He immediately pointed his staff at him and said that his cause of death was proof that his spirit's presence was weak, and he confidently said that he knows what he means. The main character was embarrassed and said that his death was a match for his life. The guy started talking about the very day of his death. He said that he was late for the bus, which was heading for an excursion. He ran out right behind the departing bus, and the guy shouted at him to wait for him. He shouted that they had forgotten him, and let him sit down. He said that he was the last in the whole class. And also in physical education classes, his teacher was always his mate. The guy turned to God and said that's why he had such thoughts. God listened to him and told him he was sorry, but the guy replied that he shouldn't do it. God told Usui that, well, that's why his presence is so weak. He said it looked like the truck driver hadn't even found out about it. God said that, well, the crux of their problem wasn't that he was dead. His presence is too weak. He said that the soul gains strength with time, knowledge, and experience. And when a person dies, it is this power that allows him to reincarnate. At the moment when this force becomes greater than a certain level, it transforms into durable insects that consume this energy. And he also said that conversely, if it becomes weaker, then it reincarnates where civilization flourishes. That's why God thinks he needs to be reincarnated in Japan. But God said she was weaker than he thought, and if everything goes the same way, then he may disappear altogether. Just at the mole level, Usui asked him how weak she was. God replied to him that, well, he thinks that once he can be reborn. But if he dies prematurely again, then he won't be able to come back. God told the guy that he thought it was necessary to send him to a world where people's individual abilities mean a lot. He thinks that he will live much longer if you give him special abilities. This made the guy very happy, and he happily said that maybe it would be like in newfangled cliches. The guy imagined that he had received all-powerful skills from God and became a great hero. He asked God about something like that, but God answered him that he had already told him that this was not the case. He said it was a little different than dealing with a guy who has a big soul. It's one thing when he pours his soul into a mighty force, and when he dies, it is necessary to adjust him so that the soul also becomes thin. God said that if he did this to him, then his soul would disappear. Usui thought about it. God told him that. Nevertheless, they needed special measures. After all, it is quite difficult to carry out his reincarnation according to the usual rules when it is so weak. Then God decided that he would send him to a world where the power of the soul can be easily restored, preserving the body and memory. God decided to give him some abilities so that he could live longer. A huge hole appeared under Usui feet. The guy started falling in there, and he started screaming very loudly. And on his last journey, God wished him luck. After a while, the guy opens his eyes. He finds himself on a small hill next to the mill. The main character looked around slightly. Suddenly, a letter appeared in front of him. The guy picked it up and said that, "Oh, and this is a letter from God." He thought that it probably described the situation he was in. He began to read this letter. The guy read that this is a fantastic world of swords and magic. The abilities that God spoke about will come in 2 seconds. The guy thought for 2 seconds. He couldn't even strengthen his body, so he's just an ordinary kid. If he defeats the monsters in this world, then he can gain soul power and become stronger. Well, if he lives to be 80 years old, then he will be able to successfully reincarnate. They wished him good luck in the letter and wished him to live a long life. And he is also presented with the possibility of compensating for the absence of any force. From God, he is presented with food for 3 days, which will give him strength. Usui was very happy about this, and he happily said, "Oh, a special ability. He's been waiting for this for so long." He immediately got up from the ground and said, "Great." He put his hand forward and decided to try to summon the status command. But instead of the power, the letter appeared in front of him again. He was very surprised by this, and the guy began to read it. It was written there that he forgot to tell him that he could not add any useful abilities to him, as this did not correspond to the assessment of life and physical abilities in the real world. And he should perceive this as a unique ability. At that moment, the guy thought about it. He said he was expecting a little bit of the wrong thing. But there's nothing to be done. That's what the guy's skills were. Intimidation, a law. He can intimidate people around him. Efficiency decreases with distance. The sword of intimidation, he can summon the sword if he prays to attack an opponent who is under the influence of intimidation with the same force with which he intimidates. The mantle of intimidation, Ospor. This weakens the attacks of opponents under the influence of intimidation, as much as they are intimidated. Usui said he did not know how effective bullying would be, which means he can summon a sword. He held out his hand in front of him and said, "Great." He ordered the sword to appear. There was a sword in his hand. The guy was very surprised by this, and at the same moment the guy raised the sword above himself. He said he thought it would be enough for him, and at the same moment he started swinging his sword. Usui said, "That doesn't look a little cool right now." Suddenly, the guy noticed that someone appeared not far from him. It was a goblin that was standing right in front of him and preparing to attack. He immediately shouted, Gwa, as the goblin began to approach him. Usui said that how could he forget that this was a world of magic and swords? And of course there are goblins there. And at the same moment, the goblin jumped straight towards Usui in order to strike at him. This scared the guy very much, and he squeezed his whole body. Suddenly, the guy turned and looked at the goblin. Usui was very surprised that the goblin shrank and began to shake. The guy wondered what was wrong with him. He said that was really how his skills worked. And then he realized that this is what intimidation is. Usui said that God told him that if he killed a goblin, he would become stronger. And the guy immediately swung his sword at the goblin. But then his eyes filled with emotion and excitement. It was hard for the guy to do this, and he lowered his sword. Usui immediately sat down on the ground in despair. He said he couldn't do it. Usui said that if this is one of the stories he knows, then he feels that by not killing him, he is taking the first step towards becoming a hero. Usui started to get up from the ground, and he said that everything was fine. The guy stretched out and said that, first of all, he needed to go to the city. After a while, Usui arrived in Liberty City. In order for the guy to be allowed into the city, they put a slave collar around his neck. Usui became very agitated and sad because of this. The guy didn't understand why and why it happened to him. He was walking down a small street and said that he could not believe that he had entered another world and turned into some kind of slave. He doesn't like that. Of course, when he first arrived in the city, it was a natural reaction. But although he thinks that it's all because of the intimidation effect on the gatekeeper at the gatekeeper abruptly asked Usui about who he was. But the guy was scared of this and couldn't really say anything. He didn't have any money or identification documents, so he couldn't just get into the city. And to prove that he would not rampage in the city, they put this slave collar on him, and he managed to get into this city. And it looks like he's going to kill him if he goes on a rampage. Because of the intimidation and the collar, people in the city are paying attention to him, and he certainly wouldn't want that kind of attention to him, and he certainly wouldn't want that kind of attention. He was walking down the street and said that he had to go to the Adventurers Guild that the gatekeeper was talking about. After a while, Usui found himself near the Adventurers Guild. He went in there and said that, so that's what it is. The Adventurers Guild. One of the people who were sitting at the table said that he had heard that a gnome had been seen in the area, and he was told that he had never thought about them coming to the surface in the morning. The other guys who were sitting at the table said that it was so good to rest today. Usui approached the reception desk and was told, "Ooh, welcome." The girl said that she was glad to see a guest at the Adventurers Guild, but without finishing the word, she was very surprised to see the guy in front of her. Usui thought that she was so scared. Really. He thought that the goblin had run away from him altogether. Out of fear, the girl asked Usui what he wanted her to do. Usui thought, stop, she has a heartache. He thought it was a cat, but no, it had a normal human face, and she's nice enough. Usui apologized to the girl and said that he would like to register with the guild. He realized that he had completely forgotten. He thought that when he was talking to the gatekeeper, he was clearly suspicious of him. He realized that he had to show himself more worthily. The guy turned to the girl at the front desk and said that he would like to register as an adventurer. But he thought, no, it's not a good idea. The girl at the front desk said it was a very expensive window. But the guy told her to get closer to the point. The girl replied that she understood everything. She handed him a piece of paper and said that then he should take it and fill it out. And it looks like Usui has completely failed. He thought about his name. Usui thought about leaving Tori, and he decided that, well, it would do. Next, he needed to fill out a profession. He thought about what it might be like for him to become a swordsman. The guy had already filled out all the paperwork and he handed them to the girl at the front desk. The girl read everything on the sheet and said, "Swordsman, Tori." She said that as soon as he pays the registration fee, she will give him a certificate of registration. Tori was very surprised and he asked what else he had to pay for it. The girl was also afraid of his question. She awkwardly replied to him that, well, that's their rules. Tori immediately apologized to the girl, and he said that she was not to blame for anything. He thought that only if he had enough money. Usui began to think about how he could get out of this situation, and he looked at the girl. The guy thought that this girl and her paws were cats. He immediately imagined cats and thought of the lovely soft paws. He loves cats so much. They're so affectionate. While Tori was imagining cats, a girl from the reception desk approached him. The guy came to his senses, and he said that he didn't have any money right now. Usui said that he would like to get a simple task first and get rewarded for it. Tori asked the girl if this was possible. The girl replied to him that in that case, she would be in the form of a temporary filing. She said that her term will be valid for 3 days. And if he pays the registration fee in the meantime, then they can make it official. The girl asked him what it was suitable for him. Tori thought about it and asked the girl that yes, if there were any tasks that he could complete. The girl told him that they would look at it now. She asked him what about collecting medicines or destroying goblins or something like that. The girl also said that the registration fee itself does not play a big role. She thinks that in the near future he will be able to issue it. Tori asked the girl what was good, if she could tell him about the plant and where they grow. And the girl answered him that it was good. Tori thanked her for her help. And then the guy turned to the girl and said that he had almost forgotten. The guy looked at the girl and he said that he wanted to ask her something important. The guy asked the girl if she could tell him her name. She told Tori that her name was Mia. The guy smiled at the girl and told her that what a gentle and sonorous name. He headed for the exit and Tori thanked Mia for telling him everything about everything. And he said goodbye to her, saying, "See you later." Meanwhile, Mia told her colleague that she was so scared. The girl's face was very agitated, but her colleague asked her if she was okay. But the girl told her that yes, and she thanked her for her concern. Mia said that, as expected, the two who were drinking in the tavern were behaving calmly. She said that quarreling with those who like to drink is a clear sign of self-destruction. Mia asked her colleague if she thought she had grown up, and the girl replied that it was good. But she said that despite this, Tori exuded such a strong aura and chose to search for medicinal herbs. And she doesn't know why. She asked Mia what his name was, Toru. She said she was wondering what he was like. Mia replied that she didn't think he was a bad person. The girl asked her what she was saying in all seriousness. She said that, whoever he was, a person who was capable of intimidating people with his aura would not be a decent person. She also said that he has no guild membership, no money. He calls himself a swordsman, even though he doesn't have a sword. And she said that all this together is so suspicious that it is even more alarming. And Mia agreed with her. She said that's how she added it at the end. The girl immediately covered her mouth with her paws. The girl turned to Mia and said that, oh, her Nia is so cute. But Mia shouted that no, it wasn't like that. And the girl asked Mia that she liked the tone, didn't she? But Mia asked her, calling her Rita, to stop talking like that. Rita told her that it was okay, she understood everything. She's going back to work, Mia. And when Mia heard this, she hit Rita, who said it hurt her. And at that moment, Mia got lost in thought. She thought that Tori was a very strange person. On the one hand, he looks like an ordinary guy. On the other hand, he looks like an experienced adventurer. Mia also thought that besides, she was used to sad words full of subtext. It was the first time she had ever heard such a thing. She thought that her beloved mother had given her a precious name, and Tori called him cute. Now she understood that she was no longer afraid of him. Mia said she hoped she could talk to him again. Rita turned to Mia and asked her what she was talking about. But the girl started to send her away and say that it was nothing. Nothing. And she began to hurry her to work faster. Meanwhile, Tori said that he didn't understand why he was trying to be cool. He thought, squatting down, that it didn't look cool when he looked like some kind of villager. And no matter what people think about him, it has nothing to do with any features or appearance. He thought they might think he was sick, and now it will be more difficult to return to the guild. It's just amazing. In life in another world. He thought it was time to start collecting medicinal herbs. And obviously, it won't be as easy as in the manga. The guy was walking through the forest and he was looking for medicinal herbs in order to complete the task. He squatted down and asked if that was all. His goal for today is to earn the registration fee for the guild. He collected a number of plants, and he wondered if it would be enough for the contribution. But he decided to keep looking. The guy stretched out and said that he couldn't eat, let alone stay in any hotel. Tori said that even though he had entered another world, he was so useless that he could only drink water. But then the guy noticed something nearby. He said that these leaves, he had seen them somewhere. And he immediately remembered and said that he had seen them at radishes. But at the same moment, he thought about it and asked if there really was a radish in front of him. He sat down and looked at the plant carefully. Tori asked if it wasn't supposed to be a world of swords and magic. He said that then, what's the radish doing there? The guy decided that he'd better pull it out of the ground. But at the same moment, this plant jumped out of the ground. This scared Tori very much. The guy shouted that it was something else. But this monster started jumping from side to side and running away from Tori. At some point, the monster fell to the ground and began to gradually increase. A moment later, a powerful explosion occurred. The guy who was hit by the remnants of the explosion stood and did not understand what it was at all. After a while, Tori joined the guild. The girl looked at the guy and told him that they should just look. It looks like Tori came across a dancing radish. The guy was surprised to ask the girl what kind of dancing radish she was talking about. Mia told the guy that she really just looks like a radish. But in fact, they move very fast and emit energy. Mia told Tori that even goblins who are used to eating waste don't approach them because of the difficulty. Tori, upon hearing this, smiled at the girl and told her that it was like that. Mia said that if you pull them out, they will scream and start running amok. And before they explode, they need to be caught and held in her hands. And the girl immediately began to show the guy how to do it. She said that's it, and carefully cut them in half from bottom to top. At that time, the guy was looking at how the girl was showing it, and he thought it was cute. The girl also said that, by the way, if he boiled them with meat, they would give a very pleasant taste. She also said that, by the way, their price is about the same as the price of medicinal herbs. Hearing this, the guy shouted that it was so much. He immediately thought about it and told Mia that no, it wouldn't be much easier. Mia said that they are really very difficult to collect, because if you miss the moment a little bit, they will explode. and the guy confirmed it and said it was true. But Mia said that, however, it's not that difficult for an experienced adventurer. She said that if they see them, they will certainly get them, as it is quite profitable. The guy thought about it again and said that he understood everything. Toru left the Adventurers Guild and he was thinking. The guy said that maybe he should do a dancing radish, and that day, he spent in the simplest dwelling. The guy came up to a small house and said it was terrible. He ate a large bowl of watery soup to appease his hunger. After eating it, he said that the dish tasted disgusting, and the only thing he has to get through the night is a piece of cloth. The guy lay down on the bare floor, covered himself with a cloth, and sadly said that this was not what he dreamed of. The next day, the guy already came to a small piece of land where there was a dancing radish. The guy stood up and said that this means that even goblins don't eat these radishes, and there's so much of it growing on the street. This is excellent. While he was picking dancing radishes, he made 3 main rules for himself. First, it explodes when someone digs the soil around it, so you need to get it out right away. Secondly, forb. Even if you pull it out, it explodes, so as soon as you pull it out, you need to immediately let it out of your hands. And third, you need to make an accurate stroke along the center of the radish. The guy picks radishes and says it's great. He threw it away and said, "Go ahead." And at that moment, he took his sword and said that he needed to cut it as quickly as possible. But then he noticed something and asked what it was. It seemed to him that Radish was sitting and shaking with fear. The guy asked if it could be that his aura of intimidation was also acting on them. And at the same moment, the dancing radish exploded. The guy immediately thought about the fact that vegetables also have a sense of fear. Or maybe it's because they're monsters too. Or the fact is that intimidation alone is not limited to living beings. He thought that a plant that is a simultaneous being, although it moves like a living thing, it is definitely a radish. And in the same second, he cut the radish into 2 pieces, and then he began to actively carry out his task. After a while, the guy happily said that intimidation was very cool. He said that God's help for 3 days was not in vain. After a while, the guy gathered all his harvest and he brought it to the guild. The other guys who were sitting in the tavern were very surprised by this, and one of them said that he did not believe his eyes. The other guy said it was just impossible. After seeing Tori, Mia was very surprised by his catch. She said what a huge amount of dancing radishes it was. It can be a great skill to wear 5 of these pieces at once. At that moment, the guy thought that maybe he was already close to some kind of rank. For example, Tori is a radish hunter. But he thought not. It sounds kind of silly. The girl with surprised eyes asked the guy about how it happened. The guy told her that he was just lucky. Mia replied that she understood the guy. She happily told him that it was still amazing. The guy looked at the girl and he thought about how cute she was. It definitely makes him happy. And at that moment, Mia turned to Tori to answer the question. The guy hesitated a little, and he immediately said that he would like to ask you to cash out these 3. Mia was very surprised by this and she asked the guy about what he didn't have yet. The guy replied to her that he wanted to try to cook something for these 2. Mia replied to him that she understood everything. It was fine. Mia turned to Tori, and she told him that if he was going to stay at a hotel, he could give them to the owner. She said he would surely make a delicious dish for him. He should definitely like it. The guy listened to her and said that he understood the girl, and the guy was grateful to her for the advice. Tori smiled sweetly at the girl, handed the dancing radish, and said it was for her. The girl picked it up and asked in surprise what it really was for. The guy happily said that she had said that she was quite unique, and he said that so he hoped that she and the guys would have a good time. The girl was very happy about this, and she thanked the guy for such a gift. After a while, Tori left the Adventurers Guild and came to the inn. He stood in front of the door to it and said that this was the hotel Mia was talking about. The guy walked around the building and saw a man there. He turned to the man and apologized for the trouble. He started talking about who he was, but then he saw the rough face of the man with the axe, and he immediately thought that he needed to be on full alert. The man immediately pointed his axe at the guy and asked him what he wanted there. It scared the guy very much. He thought he needed to let his guard down somehow. Tori couldn't figure out what to do. But then he said, "Exactly." The guy immediately stretched out his arms with the dancing radish to the man, and he asked the man to use it to cook him dinner tonight. This surprised the man with the axe, and he asked Tori that he had not accidentally robbed someone. He said that if everything is so, then he is against it. but then a rumbling sound came from the guy's stomach. This made the man with the axe laugh. He told the guy that someone as stupid as him just couldn't be a thief. He asked Toru to wait a bit, and he would take care of it. Toru thanked the man for that. Then the man cooked the innkeeper's signature dish of dancing radishes and spicy venison soup. The guy was delighted when he saw these dishes on the table, and he thought that he had been waiting for this for so long. He thought it was the first decent meal since he got there. The guy wished himself a pleasant appetite, and he immediately took his first spoon and tasted the dishes. After he tasted it, his eyes widened at how delicious it was. He asked about what it was. "It's so delicious." He said that radishes simply couldn't give such a taste. In his previous life, he had never liked her, but now he's ready to eat it for all eternity. The guy was enjoying his meal, and then he said he missed rice. The guy decided to try the dish with bread. He really liked this combination. After a while, the guy finished eating the dishes prepared by the innkeeper. He was worried at first that when he got to another world, he even got some abilities. And to be honest, he was thinking that it was over. And he really thought so. The guy remembered Mia, and he thought that she was very kind to him, despite the fact that she was emitting a threatening aura. And thanks to her help, he can eat this wonderful food. The guy sat and thought that it became interesting to him, that after a while he would be able to touch her paws. He thought that she wasn't as scared today as she was at the beginning. But then he waved his head to the side and said no. He needed to stop thinking about it. He exhaled and smiled. Maybe in this life, in another world, he can do something. The guy sat down at the table and said, "Thanks for the food." Meanwhile, someone in the guild shouted what it was. Rita and Mia were sitting at the table and eating. Rita said it was amazing, and she was also shocked when she tasted the food. She asked Mia that she was absolutely sure it was a dancing radish. Mia turned to Rita and asked her if she was exaggerating too much. Rita told her that, of course, and she told Mia to eat. After tasting the dish, the girl said that it was so delicious. Rita asked about what and who brought it, and then Mia said, "That's right." The girl asked, "A voak." Toru. Rita said he was super scary and super strong. She also said that he brought super delicious vegetables. Rita asked Mia that maybe he's not an adventurer, but a chef. Or maybe he's a vegetable god. Mia laughed and told the girl that she was saying such a thing. Mia turned to Rita, and she asked her if she should drink less. And Rita asked her what she was talking about. Rita said it would be rude not to record this delicacy. And Mia laughed a little and said that she understood everything. Meanwhile, the girls continued to sit at the table and eat delicious dishes. Rita turned to Mia and she asked her what she should say. She is her best friend. And Mia replied that there could be any questions. She also told her that they had been friends for a very long time. You can say that she will give everything for her. And immediately Rita's eyes lit up. Rita immediately pointed to her plate with the dish and she demanded that she give it back. But Mia barely managed to hide this plate behind her. Rita said that's right. Because the guild bought 2 more pieces, didn't it? She was answered by a man who was sitting at the next table about what had already been sold. Everything was sold. He said they had already sold them on the market. Rita told him that's how it was. She immediately turned to Mia and told her that it was all because of her. She asked the girl about the fact that wasn't she the one who asked Toru about it. And the girl immediately thought awkwardly. Rita told her that she was sure that if she asked him to get more dancing radishes, he would certainly get them for her. And she will already sell it at a bargain price. Mia turned to Rita and asked her what she was talking about. She started giggling and Rita immediately said that she knew it. Meanwhile, Toru was getting dancing radishes. What kind of person is he really? If he can catch so many dancing radishes, then he can afford a lot of things, even though he's giving the signs of an experienced adventurer. But at certain moments, he has the face of an innocent child. And no matter how much Mia thinks about it, she still can't understand this man. The girl was sitting at the table and eating dishes. She put the spoon in the plate and said it was the last time. She tasted the dishes and enjoyed that pleasant taste again. The girl thought that if she asked, he would give it back. She will be very happy. And if they could share that joy together again, she would be very happy. The girl didn't know if she could ask about it. She wondered if he would be as scared as the first time. She understood that she was a little worried. However, it will be morning soon. Toru came to the forest again to collect dancing radishes. He immediately heard mice squeaking in the forest. The guy is already ripping out one of the dancing radishes. He tossed it up and divided it into two parts there. The guy was tired of such work and he thought that he was very happy today. He remembered how a man came up to him, and he greeted Tori. The man turned to the guy and asked him if he could sell him that dancing radish again. He said that if he agreed, then how about buying at a price not higher than the market price? This made the guy very happy, and he asked if it was true. While the guy was getting dancing radishes, he was surprised and thought that, wow, he can't help but rejoice because his income has doubled. The guy looked at the dancing radish. He said it was almost time for the rest of the radishes. He wondered if he should ask the guild about it. After a while, the guy was walking down the street with a cart that was filled with dancing radishes. He saw how passers-by looked at him and at his cart. At that moment, the guy was thinking that he was not used to this look yet. The guy was contacted and apologized for the trouble. The guy paid attention to the girl and looked at who it was. The girl awkwardly tried to say something to the guy. At that moment, he thought that she wanted him to do something. Tori decided that it was a bad idea to keep talking like that. The guy turned to the girl, and he said that he was thinking that it was difficult for her to get closer to them. He told the girl that if anything, let her ask him at the guild. At the same moment, he handed the girl a radish and said it was for her. The girl stood in a stupor and she didn't know what to say to the guy. But then Tori said that he gave it to her of his own free will. He told the girl that he appreciated her courage. At this time, the girl stood silently and looked after him. At that moment, the girl thought that she had only come a little closer. But it looks like this is the one she needs. Meanwhile, Tori entered the Adventurers Guild. When they saw him, someone shouted that the radish lover had arrived. At that moment, Mia was sitting under the table and was nervous. Tori thought about where that voice was coming from now. He approached the girl and apologized to her for bothering him. The girl told him that, yes, what is it? Tori asked the girl if she could help him move the dancing radish. The girl smiled at the guy and told him to rely on them. At that moment, Tori thought that it looked like this woman was already used to being bullied. If she works there long enough, she'll get used to everything. He thinks he can do something about it. The guy went to the Adventurers Guild after they unloaded the dancing radish. He was greeted by Mia, who told him, Waka, welcome back. The girl asked him about the fact that it was not the first time today. And she told him, Waka, welcome. Tori also greeted Mia and wished her a good day. He asked her about the fact that she had already eaten the dancing radish he had given her. The girl said yes, it was very, very, very full. And she immediately shouted joyfully that it was amazing. And the girl immediately fell silent from embarrassment. After these words, the girl closed her mouth with her paws and said, Mia. She looked at the guy, and she told him that she was very sorry. The girl said that she rarely uses such careless words. But the guy smiled at her and said, come on, she has nothing to apologize for. At that moment, the guy thought about it. He thought about her calling him San. He immediately thought that it was the influence of the dancing radish. And in the same second, he thanked her for it. Tori told Mia that he was glad she liked it. The girl smiled at him and said that yes, it was very tasty. At that moment, Tori put the dancing radish back on the table and told her that he wanted to give it to her today too. The girl was immediately happy about this, and she thanked the guy for this gift and said that the guys would be happy. But right after that, Tori turned to Mia and he told her that her beautiful skin would become even more beautiful. This surprised the girl very much, and she asked what he was saying about her skin. After that, the girl added the word Nia again. Mia covered her mouth with her paws again after that word. But Tori just laughed and asked the girl not to worry so much. By the way, it seems that the leaves of one large root contain ingredients that really enhance the coat. Although radishes explode in this world, maybe it's the same thing. Tori turned to the girl and told her exactly what. He asked her if she happened to know where there was another cluster of dancing radishes. The girl thought about it and asked the cluster guy again. Maya waved her head and said she was sorry for that. She said that initially, when it occurred to her, everything was collected there. She also told Tori that they had no other information. The guy listened to her and said that's how it was. The girl said that about it. She asked him that such tasks were not too difficult for him. She showed him a lot of papers with assignments, and she told the guy that they just have a lot of tasks for delivering dancing radishes, and the guy was very interested in it. The girl told Tori that many people had found out that he had a delicious dancing radish, and Tori replied to Mia that yes, it was not difficult for him. The girl told him that's how it was. At that moment, Tori thought that, as expected, With the current method of collection, it is difficult to ensure stable supplies. Tori asked the girl what about putting her down. The girl asked in surprise to plant. She told him that she had never heard of it, and she told him that then it was worth a try. Tori also told the girl that he needed to try his best. After a while, the guy left the guild and headed down a small street. He walked and thought about that in the first place. Why his dancing radish was so delicious. He thought that perhaps this could be due to intimidation. Tori wondered if it would still taste good if he bullied simple cultures. He immediately thought about it and said that he needed to ask the farmers for help. Realizing this, the guy immediately began to dance merrily and he said that it was great. He'll talk about it tomorrow. The next day, Tori returned to the Adventurers Guild. He was met by Mia, who turned to the guy and said that there was a letter for him from a beautiful girl. This surprised the guy very much, and he said that it was good. Tori thanked Mia for giving him the letter. But then the guy looked at Mia and thought that since when has she also had an aura of intimidation? He thought that maybe he had done something wrong. Tori immediately unfolded the letter and began to read it. Mia turned to Tori. She said that the guild is definitely the link between adventurers and citizens, but still, it's just a place of work. And she immediately angrily asked him that he couldn't exchange love letters with people directly. But the guy calmly replied to her that no, he was just a job request. The girl started to get nervous, and she asked that a request was sent to him in the letter. The guy read the letter and he said it looked like it was from the same girl he had given a dancing radish to a few days ago. He said that it was indeed a very lucky coincidence. The girl awkwardly turned to the guy, and she apologized to him. But the guy told her that it was okay. He said that then he would leave immediately. And Mia told him to come back. When the guy left the Adventurers Guild, the girl immediately hid her face and said that it was bad. It's bad, very bad. While the girl was sitting with her face covered, Rita came up to her. She turned to Mia and asked her about her attitude towards a strange guy. And he's jealous of their client, which is cool. She also said that a colleague who gives up on a few words is not cool. Mia tried to kick Rita out so that she would move away from her. At this point, Rita said that since it wasn't cool, she would give it to her. And the girl held out her hand to Mia, in which she held a dancing radish. Mia looked at the girl and she thanked her, but she immediately said with a sad face that, but still, she was a fool. At that moment, Tori was walking across the field and looking at a letter from a girl. He thought about wondering what Mia meant, and he immediately began to read the letter. He read that the content of the request is to improve the quality of vegetables. She wrote that she was impressed by his radish. She would really like him to help her improve the taste of vegetables in her field. The guy was very happy about it. He said how lucky it was. He gets the impression that God is intervening, setting things up, and then he realized that he also wanted an event to get along with Mia. He realized that he was too greedy. Tori approached the house, and he said that he had finally found it. He went to the door, knocked and said that it was Tori, and he had received a letter from her. The guy asked the hostess if she was at home, and at the same moment, the door of the house opened. The guy saw a girl who immediately apologized to him for making him wait. Tori told the girl that she was his client, and the girl immediately bent down in front of him and said that it was so. She apologized to the guy, but Tori told the girl that no, she had nothing to apologize for. People seem to have a hard time controlling themselves when he's around. The guy asked the girl if it was okay if he was at that distance, and the girl replied that she thanked him for his concern. But she said she thinks everything will be fine. The girl told the guy that this area used to be a farming village, but the city began to grow, and it became more difficult to cultivate the land and maintain water supplies. She said that most of the residents had moved to neighboring villages, and she wanted to leave herself. The girl said that her husband had passed away. Therefore, it has become even more difficult for her to support agriculture. She also said that at least she wants to keep at least this field, but she can't do anything on her own. She recently received the dancing radish from him, and that's why she decided to ask him for help. The guy listened to the girl, and he told her that he understood everything. The guy said that he was not ready to give a guarantee that the taste would change dramatically, and if he fails, he may not get the reward. Besides, he said she might be disappointed. The girl began to giggle for some reason. The guy asked her in surprise about what had happened, but the girl replied that she was apologizing to him. She said it was a bit surprising. The guy immediately asked her again, surprisingly. The girl replied that she was just thinking that he was a very scary person, and she's been very careful lately. And she told him that with these conditions. But then the guy asked her that he was wondering what went wrong. The girl replied to him that no, this request will be paid from the moment it is accepted. And she added that, of course, if he succeeds, she will add a reward to him. The guy was very surprised by this, and he asked, sell, bah. He said that, well, he was asking about the reward in case of failure. And the girl giggled again. At the same moment, she turned to the guy, and she asked him very strongly that he do everything possible so that she would pay him. She also said that, for her part, she would provide him with any possible help. The guy immediately agreed to it, and he said it was good. He thinks that if he succeeds, there won't be any problems. And he immediately turned to the girl and told her that then they would do everything in their power. And the girl answered him that yes, she was asking him. At the same moment, the guy squatted down and put out his hand. He said that it was fine, then he would try. And the girl agreed with him. He said it was clear that she had improved taste. Meanwhile, Toru tried and worked hard to improve the taste of the plants. At this time, the girl was carefully watching what he was doing. After a while, Toru told the girl that he was done. This surprised the girl very much, and she asked that they had already finished. The girl pulled out some carrots and she brought them home. The girl cut them and tasted them. Everything became clear on her face at once. The girl immediately said that it was delicious. The girl was enjoying a carrot, and at that moment Toru asked her what it was. The girl asked the guy about what he had done, and Toru immediately hesitated. He smiled at the girl and told her that it was a trade secret. The girl immediately asked him again, "Pa, axe, a trade secret." The guy immediately thought that in any case, he managed to check that if you intimidate the vegetables, they will taste better. He thought about what else he could do then. The guy realized that he had found a way to bully vegetables to improve the taste. First of all, he talks about carrots and potatoes. These are vegetables that are buried in the ground. They seem like a good target for intimidation. Tomatoes are next. Toru is going to work on him with 2 hands, and then condensing it all. He doesn't think the rest will be a problem. Then they get the most delicious vegetables. Toru turned to the girl and asked her if there were any other problems with fulfilling this order. The girl told him that she didn't. She thanked Toru for helping her. She said that now she thinks they will just be sold. The girl smiled at Toru and said that her husband would be happy. Toru noticed a smile on the girl, and he told her that she seemed very pleased with him. The girl replied that, to tell the truth, when she got a lot of vegetables, she was thinking about returning to her parents' house. At that moment, Toru looked at her questioningly. The girl said that she wanted to sell them to distance herself from this feeling, but she did not have enough skill. She shared that it takes many years to improve the taste of vegetables. That's why she thought she would stay there. But the girl told the guy that his wonderful abilities, and now she has no doubts. She said he made the vegetables so delicious in just one day. And the girl told Toru that now she is sure that she will not be so attached to herself and will start a new life. She thinks that the time has come. And at the same moment, the girl handed him a piece of paper, and she said that here was his promised reward. And the girl thanked the guy again for his help. In response, the guy smiled at her. Toru looked after the girl and he said that he was happy that his strength was doing him good. But at that moment, the guy decided to look at the piece of paper that the girl gave him as he wondered what the reward was. He read that it was a contract that stated that all rights to the house and fields were transferred to Toru. This surprised the guy very much. The house and land received as a reward worried the guy very much. He walked down the street towards the Adventurers Guild and thought about it. He looked at the contract again and said that it was not very good that he was no longer a high school student. He tensed up and asked what was wrong. After a while, the guy entered the Adventurers Guild. He was greeted by Mia, who told him that, "Welcome to the Adventurers Guild." And then, she saw that Toru had come in. The guy apologized to the girl. Mia immediately asked him if he had done something wrong. She asked him if he might not have been able to complete the request. But the guy told her that wasn't the point. He told the girl that the request had been successfully completed. You can even tell him that with great success. He started to say that he had been given a reward for the task. But Mia interrupted him and asked him if it wasn't time for him to run. And the guy immediately replied that he didn't. He told her that she misunderstood him. The guy told Mia that she had paid him enough money, and without a doubt she fulfilled her end of the bargain. The guy awkwardly told her that she was just being a little generous. The girl looked at the guy in surprise, and she asked him what he was paid with. and Tori replied to her that he was therefore sorry that he hadn't really read the gist of the request. When asked by the girl, he said that she had paid him with a house with a field. The girl was surprised by this. She asked the guy about the fact that the field where vegetables are grown is correct, and home in the sense that it's a place where people live. And the guy immediately replied to her that, in other words, a house with a field. He also said that, although it was far out of town, he had received a house and a field into his ownership. He understood that he was glad that his efforts had been recognized. But it's too weird. The guy thought that he was not such a significant citizen. And yet, if she really found his help useful, she should have given him the most valuable thing she has. And then he realized that, yes, it was over. Mia turned to Tori, and she asked him if he could give her a letter. The guy held out his hand with the letter and handed it to the girl. Mia picked it up and read it. She said yes, she understood everything now. The girl turned to the guy and told him that this was a kind of request. The contract states that until the cultivation of vegetables ends, and depending on the client's intentions, the contract can be extended up to 10 years. This shocked the guy very much, and he asked what she had said before she was 10 years old. He immediately thought that this was half of his life. He realized that if bullying stopped working, then what would happen to him? The guy understood that he was not going to sit on this earth for 10 years. He thought it looked like he needed to keep experimenting. And as compensation, a house and a field were chosen, which are transferred at the end of the contract. Mia read it and said she thinks yes, it's reasonable. Tori listened to her and asked if she really thought so. The girl also said with a smile that usually a monthly reward is collected for such requests. She thinks that even under such conditions it is quite difficult to hire people. The guy realized that he would have to spend a lot of time on this request. He thought that during this time he would be able to earn money for a living. But then the guy thought that if you think like that, it's a really good idea. The girl also told him that if he worked for 40 years, then after retirement he would be paid about 100 billion yen. She said that's why it's better for him to work for free for now. No one would work after hearing that. Tori immediately thought that he understood everything. He thought it was unclear to him if he had received too little, or if the person had paid him too much. And at that moment he realized what it meant. This was his destiny. The power given to him by God helped him survive in this city. He needs to think about it. Mia turned to the guy and she very cheerfully and joyfully thanked the guy for his work. It was very nice to hear the guy, and he thanked the girl for such nice words. The guy had already left the Adventurers Guild and walked down a small street. At that moment he thought about how Mia was so cute today. Tori remembered all those who had done good deeds to him, and thought that he was grateful to these people. He understood that this was something he couldn't even think about when he went out into the fresh air. Or rather, when I was left alone in the mountains during the tour. He thought about what he should do next. He said he thought bullying would be his downside. He thought that maybe it was disability. Meanwhile, Tori remembered what he was like as a child. He remembered that there was a program on TV in which one of the characters said that the red sliver was in danger. He asked about who their friends were willing to help him. Tori and his friend immediately shouted that they were ready. Then, here he is. The child in red is great. And at that moment, Tori thought that he couldn't do anything to himself. It can be said that he used to be a pessimist, but from now on, everything will change. He thought that maybe he wouldn't become a hero saving the world, but he will become a person who gives vivid emotions to other people. And that's all he can do to date. But then suddenly, an angel appeared in Tori's head, which attracted his attention. He shouted that the unique skill had been improved. In order to get detailed information, let him familiarize himself with the column for unique skills. The guy immediately stood up dumbfounded and froze. He thought about what was right in the brain. It's more than that. He understood everything abruptly and was delighted, saying that in other words, he finally had a skill boost. He shouted that he needed detailed information about the skills. It was a special taste when using intimidation. He had a frightening superior position, a complete collection of fear from intimidation. He understood that he could focus on bullying, reduces incomplete intimidation. The effect is weakened by distance. The status said angelic powers, a menu with one skill. Angel said it was a natural skill boost. As with bullying, they have to be careful, since the effect is weakened for an opponent who is not in line of sight. This intimidation is of particularly rare origin. A special type of intimidation is vegetables. It increases the power of intimidation against vegetables. By intimidating them, they continue to keep fresh. The angel said he didn't know what that meant. He asked why freshness should be preserved during intimidation. Angel said that he had never seen such a unique skill. He also had a terrifyingly altered sword shape. A terrifying hoe. Tori thought about how he could intimidate the land by plowing it. Plants on the terrified earth will be able to grow faster. Meanwhile, the angel said that this is the first time I've used the sword of intimidation as a hoe. The angel asked that who even thinks that it is possible to intimidate the earth. He said that it remains only to bow to the wisdom of God, who allowed such powers. There was also a skill, acetal and intimidating things. Intimidating clothes. It reduces the attacks of opponents who are affected by intimidation. The angel said that he can do his best, because after training it increases his defense. And the guy, hearing all this, was pleased. He said that the intimidation effect would only work when he was looking at someone. He also said that it was true that when he lived in a hotel, people lived behind the wall. And if he had bullied them, he would have been kicked out by now. He also thought about it and said that intimidation when approaching. This means that he will be able to intimidate only the target he needs. It became interesting to him that if he continued to bully solely from himself, would he be able to reduce the aura around him? Tori thought about it, and he immediately got sad and said no, he didn't like it. He said vegetables, a hoe, and so on. Tori understood that he had become a real farmer. Tori said that although it was very convenient, he was afraid of his life path. He said he didn't want to get attached to it. He was thinking that if he had some kind of fatal blow, that he would be able to defeat monsters using momentum. A devastating and inimitable blow in his destruction. He said that all he had to do was dream a little. Turi also continued to read, and he said that God had told him that he would be able to strengthen himself with the power of his soul. Something like that. But then he realized that he did not see something strong or skillful in himself to enhance his status. He asked if he really had no choice but to kill monsters. He imagined himself furiously killing monsters. But at the same moment, the guy covered his face with his hand. He said he needed to think about it when he had the right moment. He said that not all people in this world should be soldiers or adventurers. He also said that there are many people who spend their lives not fighting. He thought that, yes, that's right. Then it's time to sort out the main problems. The guy came to his new site and said that he had several useful, unique skills. He has a house with a field, but he has no choice but to grow vegetables. And at that moment, he decisively said that then he would grow vegetables. The most delicious vegetables. The guy has already started to build his plan. He thought about it and said that first he needed seeds and seedlings. He understood that he was able to bully vegetables even before he got the unique skills. He wondered if he could get some medicinal herbs if he couldn't do it with vegetables. He thought that if he used intimidation on medicinal herbs, was there any chance that they would become high quality? He thought that if he could turn them into metal, then he would be able to create a high-quality potion. Tori tuned in and said that everything was going great, so he decided to get down to business. The guy is already in the Adventurers Guild, and he said with a smile on his face that this is why he is going to start growing medicinal herbs and vegetables. He immediately asked if there were plants that gave value to vegetables. Mia listened to him attentively, and she asked him what it meant that he wanted to quit his job as an adventurer and become a farmer. The guy thought about it, and then it seemed to hit him. He shouted that he wasn't. He is an adventurer, and he will remain one. At that moment, he thought about what he was thinking about. He understood that if he became a farmer, there would be no reason for him to come to the Adventurers Guild, and this in turn means that he will no longer be able to see Mia. It was as if he began to calm himself down and repeat the same thing, that he was an adventurer, and he will definitely remain an adventurer. After a while, Mia turned to the guy, and she told him that there was one plant that was valuable. It's called that, Ako, poisonous weed. The guy immediately asked the girl again, Ako, poisonous weed. Mia told him that even though it is called poisonous, it is not dangerous. She said it was used to kill various insects. And at that moment, the guy said that he needed to buy this poisonous herb, and then he went to the market for tomato seeds. Turi thought about how he couldn't speak properly because of his bullying. The guy turned to the guildmaster, who told the guy that it was him. He asked the guy what he was doing. He asked the guy what he was doing this time. Turi asked the guildmaster of the merchant guild, who can resist intimidation, to sell him the plants personally. At that moment, the guy thought that in order to live a normal life, He needed to make friends with all the people in the city, because in this city, the greatest value is friends. And it was depressing for the main character. He thought that, as always, he had sown fear. But there was also good news. When he went into the hotel to pack his things from his room, the master turned to Tori and he told him that if he brought him the ingredients, he would cook him something special. Tori immediately asked him if it was true, and he immediately thanked the master for that. At that moment, the guy thought that they hadn't talked much with him, but he was a good person. Tori thought that although he was sure that he would no longer live there, he still wanted to deliver vegetables to him. He understood that he should treasure his connections with people if he succeeded. A week later, the guy was very happy, and he happily said that yes, he had finally succeeded. He held up his hands with a happy face and said that he had made the most delicious tomatoes. And at that moment, the guy decided to taste this tomato. He took a bite out of it, and at the same moment, he forgot about everything in the world. Tears of happiness appeared in his eyes from such a divine taste of tomato. He understood that the way to get this pleasure was definitely worth it. And at that moment, he remembered that, firstly, it took 3 days to plow the field, and it was enough just to dig up the field, which was already under the influence of intimidation. In those moments, he felt that his back pain was only getting worse, and he managed to finish because he knew how to work properly. And then, for 3 days, he planted seedlings until sprouts appeared from them. His innate skills scared and stimulated their growth, and to keep them growing, he continued to bully them. That's how he sat waiting from morning to evening. Tori understood that there were no games or manga in this world, so he could just sit in the field. And it was a real torture for him. He was so happy when the buds finally opened on the second day, and that even made him start dancing. He rejoiced, danced, and shouted, "Ho ho ho, nice!" There were even tears of happiness in his eyes, that his efforts were not in vain. And he is sure that he came to another world in order to create something like this. And at the same moment, he began to stop his thoughts and say that no, he is not a farmer. He is not a farmer. The guy said everything was going great. Now he needs to share it with everyone. He thought about what he would give the old man at the hotel a try. He turned to Tori and told him that if he came so suddenly to give him this tomato, but the guy turned to the man and he told him to just try it. At that moment, the man decided to try the tomato that Tori had brought him, and his eyes immediately lit up with happiness from what he felt. The man turned to Tori and told him to come back later in the evening. He told him that he would cook something outstanding out of it. Tori was delighted and thought that it was reassuring. After a while, the guy joined the Adventurers Guild. He approached Mia, and she said she was glad to see the visitors. She turned to the guy and was surprised to ask him what he had been doing for a week. In response to her question, the guy giggled a little. He handed the girl a plate of tomatoes and he told her that he was doing this. The girl, with surprise in her eyes, took one of the tomatoes in her paws and said, "No, a tomato." And Tahori told her that it was something he had grown from seeds. He asked Mia to definitely try them tonight. The girl happily smiled at the guy and she thanked him for this gift. She told him that they would definitely try. And at the same moment, the girl tried to bite off a tomato. She immediately told the guy that it was amazing, and she liked him very much. But at that moment, Rita came up to her and she turned to Mia. The girl told her to wait and she said that they were actually working. Mia replied to her that she had already tried it. Mia told the guy that then they could have dinner together later, and the guy told her that it was great. The girl covered her eyes with her paws in embarrassment. Meanwhile, Mia turned to Tori and told him that he really tasted amazing. At that moment, the guy looked at the girl and told her that even if she agreed with it, it was really delicious. And he immediately said that then he would have to try to repeat this experience. He told the girls that he would bring them another one, and Mia immediately thanked the guy for it. At that moment, Rita took a tomato, and she asked the guys about what it was and how it happened. The girl tasted a tomato and said that she should have expected such a thing from their vegetable god. She also added that he can make any vegetable delicious. Rita held out her hand with a plate of tomatoes and told Tahori that it was really delicious. And she said she would take more. But at that moment, Mia turned to Rita and she told her to take her hands off. But Rita turned to Mia, and she told her that she'd already eaten hers. She asked the girl if the excess should not be directed to her in order to preserve her beauty. Mia replied that she did not think so. Rita immediately said about Mia that she is a lustful cat that licks man's strength. She also said that she satisfies her craving for delicious food, and that's why Tuori doesn't like her. And after Mia heard those words, she was able to stand up for herself. Rita turned to Mia and told her that she was in pain, but Mia told her to stop. The girl exhaled and said that today was a bad day. Meanwhile, Turi left the Adventurers Guild. He was walking down a small street and said no. If he could make something delicious, then he did it. At the same moment, he remembered the face of a joyful Mia, who, after tasting the tomato, said that it was delicious. Tori immediately smiled and said that it was great. He raised his hand up and happily said that he should try to grow vegetables. The guy thought about realizing himself as a farmer. Ugh, so how? He had never thought that he would go down this path. After a while, Tori came to the Merchant Guild and knocked on the door. He said it was Tori and he would like to buy something. Guildmaster Randall opened the door for him and asked the guy if it was really Tori. He told him that he was always happy to talk to him. The guy turned to Randall and apologized to him for such frequent visits. He told him that it was embarrassing for him to distract him from his business every time. But the man replied that it was nothing to worry about. He said that not many merchants can resist his intimidation. After a while, the master and Tuori were already sitting at a table in the hall. The guy looked at the man and thought that this was the head of the Merchant Guild, and his name is Randall. He thought about how there was no one else in the guild who could resist his bullying, and that's why he always does business with him. Randall turned to the guy and he asked him how he could help him today. And at the same moment, Tori placed a basket of vegetables and herbs on his table, and he told Randall that he would like him to buy these vegetables and medicinal herbs from him. The man picked up one of the tomatoes, looked at it, and he thought about it. Randall told him that this time it was the highest quality vegetables. He also picked up a plant and asked Tori about the fact that medicinal herbs are poisonous. The guy replied to him that yes. He asked the man if he could buy that too. And Randall immediately thought about it. But after a couple of seconds, the man replied to the guy that he was very sorry. He said he couldn't buy poison grass. This surprised Tori very much, and he looked at the man questioningly. The man said that the poison that is in it is very dangerous. And if he spreads this herb, then the guards can take him away. The guy immediately asked in a surprised voice which guard he was talking about. The man said he would recommend that he get rid of her as soon as possible. And at that moment, Tori thought that maybe it was because of the intimidation effect, and he realized that it sounded very scary. But he immediately wondered if he would be okay if he touched her with his bare hands. After a while, the master brought the guy his order, and he told him that these were the seeds he had ordered. The guy immediately started counting them, and he thanked him for it. He also said that he apologizes once again for bothering him. The master turned to Tori and told him that he was one of his most important clients. And he also said that no one else matters as much as he does. These words made the guy very pleased, and he smiled at the master. Tori immediately thought that he couldn't believe that someone was dealing with him. And he also thought that Randall was really a wonderful person. After a while, the guy did all his business, and he left the Merchant Guild. He turned to Randall, thanked him for everything, and said goodbye to him. The man watched him go and sat down on a chair. He exhaled and took the adventurer Tori's card. The very first information that came about him was that he was emitting waves of intimidation, and this causes him great concern. But he doesn't even flaunt his authority. He only collects medicinal herbs and dancing radishes. There were a lot of excesses related to intimidation, but he never showed violence and always behaved calmly. And he doesn't understand it. And if he can get a dancing radish so easily, then that means he's good at it. So if we talk about the aura of a strong person, then he has all his reasons for this. At that moment, the man thought about what was the reason for his intimidation of everyone around him. If he intimidates against his will, and maybe it's the result of some kind of magical tool. He thought about it and said that, or maybe it was a curse. But he said that whatever it was, he didn't have enough information yet. But he will be able to contact him and find out what he needs. But he thought he was too old for that. And these are vegetables that represent the unique nature of the adventurer Tori. He brought vegetables and herbs of the highest class. The vegetables are of a quality that cannot be found in the markets. This usually doesn't apply to the common class, but it is the level of court chefs. And the most important thing is that these vegetables are really delicious. These herbs also deserve special attention. Meanwhile, Randall was sitting in the study and thought that if they used only his herbs as materials, then this could be considered the best restorative medicine. And as an extreme of all this, poisonous grass. He thought that even if the most skilled adventurers took care of her, Randall was told that this only promises problems, and judging by the way he reacted, it won't be a problem, but he needs to be more careful from now on. Randall thought about how he had improved the quality of the plants. At the same time, considering his ability to work with dancing radishes and the previous owner of the field, it doesn't matter if it's effective or not. It is likely that he's involved in the final harvest, and if he uses any technology or tools, he would like to buy them at all costs. He realized that he had to be patient. Now was the time for him to gain his trust. Randall looked at the delicious tomatoes again. He picked up one of them and took another bite. Randall immediately felt the wonderful taste of tomato, and then he realized that he had to wait a little longer. He thought that it was not good to dig into incomplete information and draw conclusions from it. Merchants are those who calculate the steps, and they don't make them themselves. And besides, it would be a shame for him not to get the opportunity to eat this tomato. And he thought that perhaps he would eat another one. Meanwhile, Toru was working in his garden. The guy thought that he had received the seeds and had already sown them. He did it instead of the poisonous grass. The guy is very tired of this kind of work. He looked at his beds and said that it was good. He asked how it happened. He realized that he had read stories about entire fields of cannabis in Japan, and as soon as it was revealed, there was a real uproar. A man looked at his plants and thought about how big he was. But then the police drove up to him and told him that they were taking it away. Toru thought that it would probably have a negative effect on other plants, and of course, he just can't let that happen. He thought that maybe the Adventurers Guild would tell him how to get rid of it, but the guy's face has changed a lot. Toru had already joined the Adventurers Guild and he turned to Mia, but the girl came very close to him and he asked her what she was doing. The guy tensed up from this and he thought that she was too close. Mia stopped sniffing it, and then the girl turned to the guy. She asked him that he had brought something dangerous. The guy stood in a stupor. He awkwardly said yes. He told the girl that he would like to ask her to teach him how to get rid of the poisonous grass that he had grown. Mia shouted, "Poisonous grass!" The guy replied to the girl that Randall from the Merchant Guild advised him to get rid of her, and the girl answered him that she understood everything. She told Toru that it was she who had advised him earlier to try to raise her. And she also said that since he grows vegetables, she thought he could improve her quality as well. And Mia told the guy, pointing to the poisonous herb, that then they would buy it from him. She apologized to Toru and told him that she hoped he wouldn't grow it in the future. The guy smiled at the girl and thanked her for her help in return. Toru told the girl that he would be careful from now on. He thought about how glad he was that he had managed to get rid of it. And when he finished picking the grass and had already gone home, he felt the gaze of people on him. He thought about the dancing radish last time. This time it was a poisonous herb. And so it turns out that he received a concentration of poison. He thought about what kind of failure it was. The guy thought that he had entered another world, and all the names he'd received were somehow related to vegetables. He was enjoying nature in his garden and thought about tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, and day after day. He realized that it was starting to get boring since he was sitting idle every day. But this is the most effective way to spend the day doing nothing. Toru thought about it. He said that, first of all, doesn't he need to achieve great efficiency? And if you intimidate on a daily basis, you can harvest in a week. And if he intimidates them a little bit every day, then he will be able to harvest the whole crop in 1-2 months. Toru stood up in his garden and shouted that he was free, and he can live the way he likes, and also not to play the role of a scarecrow. He realized that he had entered a fantasy world, and it's a waste of time to grow vegetables until old age. He realized that he could go on an adventure, and can also explore. He can visit many places and meet countless people. And now it's time to go around the whole world. Meanwhile, Toru was passing through a small area and he came across a large stone and a river next to it. He looked at the water, saw some fish there, and said that, oh, how many. The guy was delighted and said it was great. And in the next second, he had already begun to use his intimidation ability towards the fish in the river. The fish began to surface. The guy was very surprised by this and said, wow. After a while, he had already lit a fire in order to cook the fish and eat it. He said it was great that it happened like that. And he didn't even have a fishing rod. He sat by the campfire and said that's what bullying means. After a couple of minutes, he took one of the cooked fish, wished himself a pleasant appetite, and began to eat it. He proudly said that this is what the unknown world is. For a while, the guy was happy about this. But after a moment, he lowered his head and said that he did not have the strength to go any further. And it looks like he's going to have to go back and keep growing vegetables. He thought that only gods and crooks can do what they want, and small people like him. Tori looked at the fish and said, bloody, hard, tastes like an eraser. Tori began to look at the fish carefully, and he said that it was as if only the bad parts of the fish had shrunk. And then he thought about it. Tori asked how they had shrunk. After a while, the battle against intimidation continued. Tori needed to catch fish, process it, and continue on a new way. But he soon got used to it, and only because of this, he added another dish to his diet. Tori was enjoying the delicious fish, and he thought that his goal was to make delicious fish. He wondered if it was possible that this was also an intimidation effect. And then the guy remembered that if he intimidates something, it becomes delicious. But then he thought about it and said that, although of course, maybe he misunderstood something. And so the guy started eating fish. But after that, he thought about it. He thought about how he couldn't just give it up. And he realized that he needed to keep bullying. But after a while, he said that he couldn't help himself. He said that bullying doesn't work after fishing, and no changes after cooking, even when he sprinkled it with terrifying salt. And then Tori thought about whether this could be considered the end of the intimidation effect. He looked at his hand and thought that this was what his power was. After a while, it was already dark outside. He looked at the night sky and thought that it had been going on all night. And it makes no sense for him to worry about monsters, since they are scared off by his effect. He realized that his throat was dry. The guy was only thinking that his throat was dry. And then he jumped off the seat and said, dried fish. After a while, Toru came to the dried fish shop and he turned to the master. He asked him to teach him how to dry fish. He told him what he really needed. And the master replied to him that, of course, he was already standing at the table with a knife in his hands and a fish on the board. He asked about the fact that he needed to cut the fish this way. After a while, the guy managed to dry a few fish, and so he got an incredibly delicious dried fish. He said that along with charcoal, which he bought specifically for this purpose, he worked so hard all night that he didn't sleep. This barbecue is made from a converted flower pot, a fan made of paper and tree branches. He sat next to it and realized that it was quite atmospheric. After a while, he had it ready. He took the fish in his hands and said that he was hot. And then he realized that it was all so Japanese. He smiled and said that it was simply impossible for him to believe it. He understood that yes, he was hallucinating his favorite white rice, and it's the blood of a real Japanese that screams in him. And so he made bread for himself instead. He tried it and said that, of course, he had never understood this combination. And he also thought it was not bad, however. And it's definitely a success. He thought about what was happening. He should intimidate well during drying, and it should be as delicious as dried meat or bacon. He imagined beautiful and delicious dishes in his head. And after that, he said, well, it's not harmful to dream. But then he stopped his thoughts and said that no, no, and no again. He confidently said that he had already decided that he would go on a journey. He started to eat and thought about why he cares so much about the food being delicious. He thought that perhaps this was one of the 3 main desires. But in any case, he understood that he had to give Mia a try. But suddenly, at that moment, a horse galloped right in front of the guy. He was very scared of her, so much so that the fish even fell out of his hands. He looked at her and told her where the horse came from and what she needed from the guy. And at the same moment, a man appeared next to him and apologized to Tori. He said he hadn't met him yet. The man introduced Tori and told him that he was a butler who served the lords of this land, the Hayato family. And his name is Portmouth. He looked the guy in the eyes and addressed him by name. He told him that he needed to talk to him. The guy was very excited about such an unexpected appearance. He asked that this man was a lord. Tori thought that maybe he had done something wrong. Meanwhile, a girl woke up in a large mansion. She turned to Portmouth in her thoughts, and she said she hoped he was okay. After a while, a maid came to the girl, who brought her food. She asked the girl if she was ready to eat, but the girl immediately thought about it. She replied to the maid that she had no appetite today. The maid listened to her and told her that yes, she would clean it up. The girl turned to a maid named Emma, and she thanked her for it. Emma turned to the girl and she asked her if she was okay. The girl replied that yes, everything was fine. She asked Emma not to worry. She said that there was nothing unusual about this. Meanwhile, Portmouth turned to Tori and told him that he was in the service of the Hayato family, the lords of this land. He said his name was Steward Portmouth. Portmouth said that he wanted to ask him about the fact that he could not sell him the entire harvest from this field. This surprised the guy very much, and he asked Portmouth what he was saying about the whole harvest. The man replied that he knew he was asking for a lot, and naturally he will be happy to pay him more. He asked Toru for this request even more strongly. Toru thought about the suggestion. He replied to the man that he did not object to the sale. But he asked the man to ask why he had such a request. And Portmouth told him that, of course. He said that there was actually a sick young woman in the Lord's family. He said that the girl is usually very easy on the upswing. And on days when she's not healthy, she often doesn't eat a single crumb. However, the other day he treated her to vegetables from the market. When the girl tasted these vegetables, she told the housekeeper that they were delicious, and she ate even more than usual. And Portmouth told him that's why he decided to stock up on some of these vegetables to make it a little easier for her. And he also thought about the fact that he can only buy them from Toru, and that's why he's there to make that request. Toru thought about it, and he replied to the man that he understood. He thought about the sick girl eating his vegetables, saying they were delicious. She eats a little more than usual, and everyone around her is happy about it too. And he immediately wondered if that shouldn't make him happy too. He thought about how that was the joy of working, wasn't it? He realized what he didn't know, because he hadn't had a chance to work properly since he was a former high school student. Toru turned to Portmouth and said that he understood. He also said that if that was the case, he would gladly sell everything to him. And at the same moment, the horse became very excited and began to neigh. Toru got scared and told the man that, oh no, there was another horse. But the man tried to calm the horse down. He told Toru to forgive them. He said that they are usually more calm. But Toru told Portmouth that no, maybe it was him. The guy thought about it. He thought about how animals are very sensitive to bullying. Toru turned to the man and told him that as long as he carried the vegetables, everything would be fine. He noted that he was not one of those people who could enter his house. Portmouth smiled at him and thanked the guy for it. And he also said that, so then they made a deal, and the vegetables will be handed over tomorrow. After a moment, Toru turned to Portmouth and he told him that, here, if he didn't mind, the guy handed the man a bag of dried fish that he had made himself. The man took the bag and, seeing its contents, asked him that it was dried fish. Toru replied that he had cooked it the other day. He offered to take her with him if he wanted to. At that moment, Toru thought that he didn't know if it was suitable for the people of the House of Lords. Portmouth accepted his gift and he thanked the guy for it. And he also said goodbye to Toru and told him, see you tomorrow. Meanwhile, Portmouth had already arrived at the mansion. He went into the kitchen and turned to Chef Foggs. He told him what about those vegetables. He was able to successfully negotiate. He told him that they would be able to bring everything tomorrow. Portmouth also told Foggs that Mr. Toru had given him some dried fish. He said maybe she would do. The chef asked him again that he had brought dried fish. He said when ordering the sleeves that he hadn't thought about it, but he would try. And he'll see what he can do with it. After a while, Portmouth came to the girl and he put her a plate with dried fish and vegetables. The man told her that this would be her dinner tonight. The girl thanked Portmouth for bringing her food. She looked at the plate and asked the man to tell her what kind of dish it was. Portmouth said it was a delicacy that was made from dried fish that Mr. Toru had given them. He also said that he did not think that she had ever tasted it, but he thought that maybe she might like it. The girl listened carefully to the guy, and she said that she was interested in trying dried fish. After a couple of seconds, the girl began to taste what Foggs had prepared for her. Meanwhile, Portmouth was watching the girl closely, hoping that she would like it. Sometime later, Toru's garden was used for loading crops for the Lord's family. And at that time, Toru was standing not far from the place where the harvest was loaded. He thought about the fact that he was by no means idle. Toru understood that he would really like to help, but intimidation will make them less effective. And so he decided that it would be more correct to stand and not interfere with anyone. And he also thought that it was better not to provoke the horse too much. Anything can happen. He imagined a kitten and a puppy, and he thought about how difficult it is when animals don't like him. After a while, Portmouth told Toru that he had a good harvest job. And in response to this, Toru turned to Mr. Portmouth. He apologized to the man for being late with the harvest. He told him that he just wanted to grow something fresh for their lady. Mr. Portmouth immediately thanked the guy for his work. He said she was absolutely thrilled. Tori also told the man that, by the way, he doesn't want to speak for himself. Portmith asked him what it was. The guy answered him by asking if he felt uncomfortable being around him. He suggested the atmosphere, the air. Mr. Portmith replied that he understood him. The man turned to Tori and told him that he had already heard about it. He also said that, besides, he was used to such an atmosphere. At that moment, Tori thought that being the Lord's steward, he must have a lot of experience, and that impressed the guy and the manager. After a while, Tori turned to Mr. Portmith and he told him that this was it. Portmith responded by thanking the guy for accepting their offer. The man took the bag of money and told him that here was the payout. He said that he was sure that the lady would be delighted. Tori replied to him, with a smile on his face, that he was glad to help him. He thought about how it was a lot of work to harvest, but he understood that it was worth his effort, and he's glad, that he's happy. Tori returned to Portmith, and he told him that he was going. But then the man awkwardly said that he remembered something. He turned to Tori, and the man asked him if he could wait a minute. He said that he would like to talk to him about something else. Tori, with surprise in his eyes, asked the man what. Portmith told him that he had served the young girl the dried fish he had given him yesterday, and it was obvious from the girl that she liked everything. He said that she had almost stopped eating fish and meat for a long time, but yesterday she ate it so well, and he told Tori that it was very pleasant for him. He also asked him that if he didn't mind, he would like to know if he could sell dried fish as well. Tori thought about it. He replied to the man that he understood everything. The guy thoughtfully said that, well, he would be happy to give it to him. However, at the moment he has very little stock. He also told Portmith that dried fish is difficult to cook because of the hassle associated with fish, and it's a very long time. Portmith turned to Tori and he asked him that if they prepared the fish, he would be able to process it into dried. The guy thought about it and he said yes. He also clarified that if you add a little effort, he will be able to make many things tastier. He has also already succeeded with vegetables and dry foods. This surprised Portmith very much. Tori reflected that well. Sometimes it's as simple as a dancing radish, and sometimes it's a real struggle, for example, with dried fish. Portmith asked Tori if that was the case, if he could come to them once. This surprised Tori very much. Portmith said that there he would be able to work with their chef to improve the taste of the dishes. He is ready to offer him a reasonable reward. Tori thought about it. He said that as far as he understood, there was nothing wrong with going. And then the guy noticed that the horse was not calm at all. He thought about how it scared him a little. Tori turned to Portmith and he told him he was sorry. He asked the man if there would be a lot of problems if he went there like that. He also said that he did not know how much effort he would have to put in, and he also doesn't know how well he will be received. But Portmith told him no. As he had already told him, he would be able to talk to their chef on equal terms. Portmith also added that he had been through a lot. He is confident that he will be able to withstand his presence. Tori thought about what kind of person he was who had been through a lot. Portmith contacted Tori, and he told him that, of course, he could also try to meet with the Lord's family. And he asked the guy about what he still doesn't understand. He doesn't want it. The guy thought about it. He told him that, yes, he was sure that he would make a mess of it. And he also said that, if it wasn't too rude, then he would prefer not to meet with them. But then he said that, if you think about it, then no, it's very rude, isn't it? Portmith smiled and told the guy that he seemed to be going through a difficult time. After all, they would give him a reward just for coming, and if the fruit turns out to be delicious, then they will give him an additional reward. Tori realized that he had received an offer that could only benefit him, and he went to the Lord's house with the butler. Sometime later, they arrived at the Hayato family's residence. Tori walked inside and, seeing everything around, thought about what kind of house it was. At that moment, Mr. Portmith turned to him, and he invited him to go with him. A man and a guy went into the kitchen. Portmith turned to Chief Foggs, apologized to him for interrupting him from the cooking process. And immediately Chief Foggs turned to him, and he asked Portmith about what was going on there. He noticed Tori, who was looking at the boss in surprise. He pointed a knife at him, and he asked Tori who the hell he was. He thought about just letting him come to him. Portmith turned to Chief Foggs, and he told him that this was Tori. He was a vegetable farmer. Chief Foggs immediately asked again that he himself deals with vegetables, and he shook the guy's hand and asked what it meant. That's who he was. The best farmer in the world. The boss said he was Fogs and it was nice to meet him. The guy also turned to the boss and he said that he was a Tory, and he was an adventurer. Tory thought that if this house is big, then the cook's biceps should be big too. Perhaps bullying doesn't work so well for people who are really into it. There are people who are stronger than him, and it makes sense if you think about it that way. And then Chief Fogs turned to Mr. Portmouth. He asked him why he had brought Tory there. He asked that, apparently, he wasn't exactly a guest, right? And Mr. Portmouth agreed. He said that he asked him to come there today to improve the taste of their food. Master Tory has the opportunity to do this. He said that yesterday's dried fish was also made possible by Master Tory. Chief Fogs turned to Tory and asked him that he had cooked this fish. He praised him and hugged him by the shoulders, and also said that it was amazing. The guy looked awkwardly at the boss and timidly thanked him for the compliment. Tory suggested that Chief Fogs experiment with meat. He asked him if there was any meat that he planned to use for cooking, and the boss replied that yes, he would show it now. So Chief Fogs shows him the meat and asks Tory what about it. The guy asked the man if it was an ordinary one that he would eat. He said it takes a certain amount of courage to process it from scratch. And Chief Fogs asked him, he asked the guy what about it. He told him that it was for the dining table. At that moment, Tory thought that it was more frozen and delicious, and he realized that, yes, he could see. He thought about the fact that fatty meat is expensive today because of advanced canning technologies. But it's cheap there. He also heard that during the Edo period, Otoro fatty tuna was also thrown away. The cooks thought it was such a waste. Tory thanked Chief Fogs and he told him that then they would try to do it. After a while, Chief Fogs told Tory that he had sliced it the way he said, and Tory thanked him for that. He put his hands up to the plates and said, "Okay, then he's going to put different pressure on each plate." The guy closed his eyes. He thought that maybe because he had made so many dried fish in the lake, he had gained some understanding of the inner workings of his ability. He had an internal image of meat, and so Chief Fogs was looking at what Tory was doing, and he asked him if it would really work. The guy replied to him that yes, he thinks so, maybe. The boss said it was a little difficult, but it was certainly better than nothing. He tried what worked, and the boss asked how the hell it worked. Tory tried it too, and he said that, well, the muscle fibers had atrophied. He said that this one smells a little like fish, but the texture is pleasant. He said that he would adjust it all accordingly soon. And the boss also said that, oh yes, he would prepare everything. Meanwhile, several hours of trial and error have passed, and it's time for grilled meat. The boss began to try what had turned out, and then his eyes got bigger. It tasted like that. He immediately began to grow his arm muscles, and the boss liked it. Chief Fogs showed the guy his grown muscles, and he said it was a success. And Tory was also happy about this and agreed with the chief. Fogs praised the guy for that, and he told him he was doing great, and that's what he calls a working day. Tory was happy about it too, and he said that he had done it. Chef Fogs turned to Tory, and he suggested that they start the dish for the gentleman, and the guy agreed with him. Chief Fogs said, then let him leave it to him. He added, referring to Tory, that he had brought out the best in these ingredients, and if he did not cook as well as possible, he would lose the reputation of the Hayato family's personal chef. The cook started cooking, and at that time, Tory thought that his work there was finished. He thought that he didn't want his fear to interfere with cooking. Tory turned to Chief Fogs and he told him that he was going to leave now. The guy had just started to leave, but at the same time, the boss grabbed him by the jacket and told him to wait. But Tory asked him about what had happened. He said there was nothing else he could do. But then Chief Fogs pulled him closer to him and said that he meant it. This dish is his joint work with him. He said it was a masterpiece that none of them could do without. He will be there to see how it is done, and he will give it to the lord and lady. He said it was the most delicious thing they would try, and it is this dish that they will be doing today. And at that moment, Tory looked at the chief, and he addressed him by name. The guy thought at that moment that big biceps mean a lot of responsibility. The guy told him that he understood, and the boss told him that it was good. Then let them start cooking. After a while, Portmouth came to the girl and he turned to her. The man told her that he had brought her lunch today. The girl saw that she had been served beef legs with orange sauce and sherry vinegar, which were prepared jointly by Tori and Foggs. The girl looked at the dish, and she said that it smells great. And at the same moment, the girl began to eat this dish. She immediately bulged her eyes with such pleasure. The girl told Portmouth that it was delicious. The girl turned to Portmouth and she asked him if it could be meat. The man replied to her that yes, today's meat was processed by Mr. Tori. The girl thought about it, and she said that even the meat is very tasty and it's strange. She thought about Tori and wondered what kind of person he was. After a while, Portmouth came to the kitchen and he turned to Tori. The man told him that the gentleman wanted to thank him personally, and this surprised the guy very much. At that moment, Chief Foggs approached him and told him that he had done it, and this time he succeeded. The guy awkwardly replied to them that, well, it was a great honor for him, but he's afraid they have a lot of problems. Portmouth replied to the guy that the Lord had invited him, and he explained the whole situation. He said that if he did not behave suspiciously, then there would be no problems. Tori thought about it and told him that if he insisted, then he agreed. He thought that he was wondering which man would appear as the head of the family. Their cook is such a macho man. After a while, they came to the Lord, who told the guy that he must be Tor. He said he was younger than he thought. And at that moment, Tori thought that he was surprisingly normal, and he shouldn't be rude. The guy bowed to the Lord, and he told him that he was pleased to meet him. He said his name was Tori, and he was an adventurer. The Lord asked that he was an adventurer, not a farmer. Tori told him that yes, he grows vegetables, but not a lot, and not so much that he can call himself a farmer, but he is an adventurer. But at that moment, the guy thought that it looked like he was really a farmer, but then the Lord apologized to the guy, and he told him that he thought that if he grows such good vegetables, but then he remembered and said that, but he would also improve the taste of meat. He asked the guy what it meant that he was a cook. Tori immediately thought about what the Lord had noticed very well. Tori replied to the Lord about being an adventurer. He thought, no, he's an adventurer. An adventurer who earns a few pounds from vegetables. At that moment, the Lord adjusted his glasses, and he replied to him that, well, it doesn't matter. He remembered which dishes were made from his products, and he told the guy that it was just meat and vegetables. They were truly great. The man also said that about his daughter Fleur. It had been a long time since he'd seen her eat so well. Not once in all that time. He turned to Tori and told him that he didn't care who he was, but he told him to just know that he was grateful to him, and let him remember that. The Lord told the guy to come back if he wanted to. He told him that today's food was good, and so the guy thanked him for it. Tori agreed to the Hayato family's request. He thought that, by the way, he decided to do it through the Adventurers Guild, and in this way, he will be able to maintain his status as an adventurer. When Tori came to the Adventurers Guild, Mia met him, and she told the guy that it was amazing that the gentleman asked him to do this. At that moment, the guy thought about what he had just been told, and anyway, for the sake of the sick young lady, for the progress in the guild, he will do everything in his power. Meanwhile, Mia was sitting sadly at the table, and she was thinking about how Mr. Tori hasn't been coming to the guild lately. She was thinking that it was so peaceful there. He sells vegetables in bulk directly at his lordship's request, so now he doesn't have to show up there. And that's why they don't get as much as they used to. She also thought of Rita, a fan of Mr. Tori's vegetables. Rita talked about how she couldn't believe that he was monopolizing food from their harvest god, and there's no excuse for that bastard lord. Her face is still full of hate. But then Mia thought about it and said that although she gets kind at times, she doesn't let her see it. The girl was sitting and talking about how bored she was. At that moment, Rita turned to Mia, and she asked her that the vegetables that go to the master's place, can't they somehow sabotage them? Mia replied to the girl that it was a diversion. Fighter bought to the girl that it was a diversion. One day she would really get caught, wouldn't she? But Rita just told Mia that she didn't care. She said that they can't just monopolize vegetables. Rita looked in on Mia, and she asked her if Lord didn't have a young lady her age. Mia asked the girl what, and she immediately replied that yes, she had heard that she was a little fragile. At that moment, Rita thought about this girl. She said that maybe the reason their harvest god had noticed them was because of this girl. And Mia immediately exclaimed. Rita also said that if these are divine vegetables, then even a sick girl can eat them, and the Lord will see it and will favor God. At that moment, Mia introduced the vegetables to Tori, and she said that it was true that it was possible with Tori vegetables. And Rita also said that if that's the case, then God and the Lord are dating. She asked Mia if that wasn't the only option, and then Mia asked with a surprised face what she was talking about. She immediately tensed up and thought about how they could all get together. The girl couldn't figure out who exactly. Mia assumed she was talking about Mr. Tori and the Hayato girl, and Mia immediately shouted no many times. She said that the difference in status between an adventurer and the aristocracy was too great. She said that if they succeed as adventurers, it is possible that one day they will be accepted into the upper stratum of society. Rita asked the achievement girl again. She said it could be. She turned to Tori in her thoughts, and she asked him why he had submitted a request to the guild. To push forward and become noble. She thought about how Mr. Tori had become a noble, and now they were both equal. But at the same moment, Mia said no. She said it couldn't be. Rita asked the girl again that she was telling the truth. She said a big young girl, a man who could save her. A forbidden love that overcomes the difference in status. And that's how history is written. But then Rita said that she was worried about it. She said she couldn't let her divine food be taken away from her. And then she turned to Mia, and Rita said, "That's why I hadn't come to this yet." She asked God to let her hug her. This confused Mia very much, and she asked Rita again that she wanted to hug her. She thought for a while, and a second later, the girl screamed loudly. Meanwhile, Rita told her that until some girl took God away from her, she needed to turn it into an already established fact. She immediately said that she was a genius herself. At that moment, Mia pointed at her with her paw and she shouted at her not to say such things. Mia thought that it was true. Tori worked hard every day. He gave them delicious vegetables and dried fish, and she knew he wasn't that at all. She thought that he had even complimented her on her name. And if it comes to that, she began to think very hard so that steam appeared above her head. Rita was looking at the girl at the time and she thought about being careful. Rita said she thought it was a great idea, but there was nothing she could do. She said that if Mia didn't want to do it, then she would do it. But Mia shouted that it was definitely not. Rita immediately turned to the girl and she asked her that it was a quick answer, wasn't it? Rita told her she was joking. She said that really delicious vegetables are very tempting, but she doesn't like to compete with colleagues for men. And Rita said that after that, she should be more honest with herself, whether it's appetite or libido. And this confused Mia very much. Meanwhile, Tori was working on his land. It's been a month since he started receiving orders from the Hyatt. At first, they asked him once a week, but now he walks every 3 days. He thought about how he had improved his bullying skills, and as a result, the quality of the products had stabilized, and he has been living a quiet life ever since he appeared in this world. And he's never been so busy. The guy was pulling up after work, and he thought that this assignment gave him a sense of balance in his life. And he has free money, but he doesn't go to the guild as often as he used to. He remembered Mia, and he realized that he missed her smile. He also misses her paws. He thought about what he would like to give her as a gift, or something like that. He imagined a dancing radish, who asked him what about her. But Tori thought that there was clearly no time for dancing radishes right now. He thought that a person who gives vegetables as a gift would look strange, and even he sees that it's a little different. But at the same moment, Tori thought about it. He repeated no several times. He said that now is not the time for depression. The guy understood that there are people who will be happy with his vegetables, including Miss. He said he had to meet their expectations, but then the guy heard someone call out to him. He turned back and saw Mr. Portmouth there. The guy turned to him and he asked him about what it was. The man wished Tori a good evening. Tori asked him what was going on. He said he thought the next delivery would be tomorrow. Tori asked him that Miss wanted to see him. The guy was very tense. He asked her if she was okay. The man replied to the guy that no, it's true. He told him that she wanted to see him. This surprised Tori very much, and he asked Portmouth why she wanted to see him again. He said he was just a vegetable farmer. Portmouth thought about it. He told the guy that he didn't want to push him, but then he asked him about what he had for dinner last night. Tori thought about it. He talked about how he cooked a dish using a bacon prototype, namely German potatoes with bacon. He said it was quite difficult because he had a lot to try. But in the end, he was satisfied with the result. He remembered this taste, and the guy with a smile on his face said that it was delicious. Portmouth also told him that this was exactly why she wanted to see him. The guy asked him in surprise what people need a lot of things to live. In particular, food is very important. Without food, people will die. However, it's too tasteless to just fill your stomach, and that's why people cook it and enjoy its taste. With this young lady's weak body, she just didn't have time to enjoy her meal. And just at that moment, Master Tori appeared. Portmith reached out to Tori, and he told him that his power improved the food, and he gave their mistress back the joy of eating. Therefore, it is not surprising that she would like to meet him and thank him. He asked the guy if there was anything strange about it, and then Tori thought about it, and he replied to Mr. Portmith that he understood everything. He understood that he had produced these vegetables, and it was the farmer's duty to advertise his product. And although he does not consider himself a farmer, Tori reached out to Mr. Portmith, and he told him that he understood, and he would be careful not to be rude. Mr. Portmith thanked Tori for this, and he also told him that he would be waiting for him tomorrow. At that moment, the guy thought about the fact that, however, he could not go empty-handed, and he needs to prepare some gifts. After a while, Tori joined the Merchant Guild. There he asked Mr. Rendell if he had any good gifts for him. Rendell told him that he was as sharp as ever. He went to the boxes and said that, but if you think about it, he is just what he needs. He put a gift on the table, and he told Tori that it was a bookmark made of a flower called a snowbell. And he also added that they say that the girl is sickly and tries not to leave the house. He thought that she would appreciate something like that. At that moment, Tori thought about it. He thought that Fleur seemed to be reading books, so this might be a good fit. The guy also asked that, by the way, these flowers are expensive. The man replied that, no, they were not expensive. He said that they are not particularly rare even in the cold north. It's just that this flower has some interesting characteristics. He said that the petals of the snowbell are tightly closed when it is in the bud, but when they open, they make a sound that looks like a bell, and the sound just depends on the environment. It is higher in cold places and lower in warm ones. He also said that in this sense, some people call it a white flower, which emits 7 different colored sounds. And there is a well-known story about the snowbell. He told that the famous adventurer got lost in the snowy mountains, and at that time, he was lucky enough to find a snowbell. The snowbells were opening at dawn, and following their sound, he was able to descend the mountain. And the man said that since then, he has become a symbol. This is a flower that wishes for recovery after war and illness. Snowdrops are known as flowers for wishing recovery from wounds and illnesses. Tori told the man that it was a good choice for Miss Fleur. He said he would take this bookmark, but then he thought about it and asked to wait. He thought that vegetables and flowers are plants after all. The guy turned to Mr. Rendell and he asked him if he could have a few words with him. After a while, Tori came back to the Lord's mansion. He thought about how he had cleaned his clothes and shoes of dirt. He also prepared a gift, and he thought that was a good thing. So, when Tori decided to come in, he knocked on the door of Fleur's room. He apologized to the girl, but she told him to come in. The girl told the guy that she was glad to meet him, but Fleur asked her to forgive her for her appearance. She introduced herself to the guy, and the girl said that she was Fleur Hayato. Aha! She was the eldest daughter of the Hayato family. But at that moment, Tori was captivated by the beauty of this girl. He thought that she was an angel, and then the girl looked at him questioningly. The guy, noticing this, told her that, well, he had made a mistake. The guy immediately introduced himself to the girl and said that his name was Toru Usui. He thanked her for the invitation. At that moment, Portmith was looking at Tori mysteriously, and he thought, Usui. The girl asked the guy what it meant. He was a Tuori, and he also has his own family. And then the guy awkwardly began to answer. He understood that he had given his last name, but in this world, they are meant only for the nobility. He has to get out of it somehow. At the same moment, Tori told the girl that no, he was asking her for forgiveness, and he said he was just to Tori. He apologized to the girl and told her that he had put it a little wrong. At that moment, the guy thought that Mr. Portman's gaze had pierced him. Fleur smiled, and she told him that it was nothing. They can continue the conversation. Tori thought about what a kind girl she was, and it looks like he's saved. Tori turned to Fleur, and he told her that he had brought her some gifts since she had invited him there today. The girl smiled sheepishly, and she said she was very surprised and interested. She wanted to find out what it was as soon as possible. The guy immediately started taking out his presents, and he said that these were tomatoes that he had picked this morning. He told her that he knew that she was always served tomatoes cooked, but this time he would like her to eat them the way they are. The girl asked with surprise in her voice, ugh, always they are. Tori told Fleur that ready-made tomatoes are good, but he would like her to try raw ones as well. He also added that tomatoes contain a lot of nutrients, and he thought that they could help her health. In some countries, they say that when tomatoes turn red, doctors turn blue. Tori also said that before giving them to the lady, he asked for a portmanteau, but the man turned to Emma. The girl began to taste this tomato, and at the same moment, she shrank all over, and Fleur asked with fear in her voice, ugh, Emma. She asked her if she was okay, but Emma told her she was so sorry. She covered her mouth with her hand and said it was so delicious. At that moment, Tori thought about what a dangerous tomato it was. He said that since they had checked, it was the young lady's turn. Fleur took a tomato in her hand and she told the guy that she didn't know how much she could eat. But the girl decided to try anyway. She took a bite of the tomato, and at the same moment her eyes widened. She said it was so delicious. The guy looked at her with surprised eyes. At the same time, he thought that he couldn't believe that she was so cute when she ate, and he can't help but admire her. Fleur turned to Tori. She asked him not to look at her so intently because it embarrassed her, and Tori replied to the girl that, oh no. He thought about how he didn't care how cute she was, but what was he doing looking at her? Tori bent down in front of the girl and he immediately said that he was sorry. He thanked Fleur and told her that he was very glad that she was satisfied. The girl giggled sheepishly and said yes. At this point, Tori said that now they could get back to business. He also pulled out a gift and asked her to accept it. The girl was surprised to take his gift, and she asked him what it was. This is a potted plant, and Tori told her that it was a snowbell in a pot. The girl told him that they had not even sprouted yet. But snowdrops are not winter-flowering plants. At that moment, Tori asked Fleur to look carefully. He stretched out his hand in front of him towards the pot, and he said, so. And at the same moment, the guy started using his intimidation spell. And so, right in Fleur's hands, the plant began to sprout. Fleur said it had sprouted, and Tori giggled a little. He thought that this was his second gift, and he is not just a lover of flowers, but now a flower grower. But wait, that's not cool. He remembered that in Japan, potted plants are avoided because they take root. But he had never heard of such a thing in this world. He asked Mr. Rendell to sow some snowbells for him. He thought that it would make the young lady happy to let an outfur, of seasoned flower grow before her eyes. Fleur was very much surprised by what the girl had grown. She told the guy that she didn't know how it worked. It's just amazing. Tori told Fleur that from now on, every time he visits the villa, he's going to make the flowers grow by themselves, and thus he will be able to enjoy growing flowers in a short time. And their quality will be better too. At the same moment, Fleur looked at the sprout and said, a snowbell, and she immediately smiled. Tori told her that as he worked in the kitchen, he would make them grow every time he had time. The girl, hearing this, was very surprised. The girl turned to Tori, and she told him that if he didn't mind, then she would like him to continue growing in the future right before her eyes. And then Tori got indignant and thought, no, he thinks is not a good idea. He doesn't think it's right for some farmer. But in the same second, he corrected himself and thought that it was for an adventurer to enter a girl's room at her age. After all, if you think about it, this is the first time he's in a girl's room. He wondered if everything was okay in this situation. Fleur also said that besides, she was so embarrassed. She said that the vegetables were so delicious. But then Tori grabbed his heart and he bowed down to Fleur. She addressed him awkwardly, but Tori told her that he understood her. He said that with her permission, he would try to fulfill her request. He thought about how ungainly his face was, of course. And at the same moment, Fleur thanked him. Tori turned to the girl and he asked her that, by the way, she wasn't afraid of him. Fleur told him that even with the maid and the Portsmouth, she didn't feel anything like that. She told him what her father in Portsmouth had told her about him. They talked about how he had no evil intentions, but he gave off a frightening atmosphere, so she had to be careful. The girl told the guy that this is what she heard. At that moment, Tori thought that now that she had put it into words, he felt like a very suspicious person. Fleur told the guy that she didn't get that impression at all. Tori asked her what. The girl replied to him that, on the contrary, since their meeting, for some reason, her body even felt much better. She said she thought that was the way it was. The girl asked Toru if that wasn't true. The guy told her that no, it couldn't be. Toru thought that he didn't understand anything. The intimidation he radiates. There are limits to what you can get used to. He thought that Ms. Mia was scared at first, but she got used to it. And now she answers him with a smile. But for those whose body and will are above him, in other words, Mr. Portmouth and Mr. Foggs, who were beyond his ability to intimidate, reacted to him normally from the very beginning. In other words, if he treats them without prejudice, then their intimidation will gradually weaken, but he said he could never make them feel at ease. At that moment, Fleur was looking at the guy intently. She giggled a little and said it was very interesting. Toru told the girl that, well, it's hard for him to say yet, at least if it's not too painful for Miss Fleur. And then the girl answered him that if that was the case, then there was no problem. She was thinking. She turned to Toru and told him that he had come again. The guy happily replied to her that he would definitely come. They set a date for the next meeting. That was the end of his day, and perhaps out of a sense of relief that everything went without problems, and happiness that she was happy. That day, he skipped the processing of the fields a bit. Toru returned to his home. He thought about how he was nervous today, but it was fun talking to her. He realized that she was so beautiful, and he was so glad that she liked the gift. At that moment, he thought that if he could see her smile every day, it would be much more pleasant for him. But that same night, the lady fell ill with a sudden fever, and he didn't find out about it until 3 days later. After a while, Toru was told about it, and he asked Mr. Portmouth about Miss Fleur being ill. It was important for the guy to find out if she was okay. The man replied that yes, at the moment her condition is stable. But the night after his arrival, she had a fever, and she spent the next day in bed. Hearing this, Toru was scared and he asked the man that maybe it was his fault. But Portmouth told him that no, it wasn't. He said that during his visit, the young lady's skin color was better than usual. He turned to Toru and said it wasn't necessarily his fault. He said that he would like to postpone today's visit for now. Toru replied that he understood everything. And at that moment, Portmouth began to drive away from Toru, and the guy was looking after him. Toru thought that he hoped that Miss Fleur would be well. Sometime later, Toru arrived at the Lord's house. The guy came into Fleur's room and the girl told him that a lot of time had passed. She asked him if everything was okay. Toru replied to her that yes, everything was as usual. But still, he asked her how she was feeling. He said he heard she had a fever. The girl replied to the guy that night she really had a fever. But in fact, she's been feeling a little better since then. The girl said that maybe because she eats his vegetables. Toru thought about it. He thought about wondering if she was really okay. He stayed with her for about 10 minutes that day, then helped her cook dinner and went home. However, on this day, the night after the visit, Miss came down with a fever again. And in the end, it was about intimidation. Portmouth came to see Toru again, and he told him that then he would have to cancel the visit again. He asked the guy if there was any way he could cure her. Toru thought about it. He asked the man what. Portmouth said that every time the lady's temperature drops, her health seems to gradually improve, and he wondered if it could be related to him. At that moment, Toru thought that he couldn't figure out who had healed her, unless it's him. The guy doesn't understand anything. Toru apologized to Mr. Portmouth, and he told him that he couldn't say anything yet. After a while, he realized that bullying heals the sick. But how is this possible? His essential skill is intimidation, and he learned to control it quite accurately by farming and producing fish, and it's the ability to be intimidating for a specific purpose. But at best, he has learned to regulate its intensity. All he does is scare the plant and have a few conversations. And if so, can his skills scare the thing that causes the disease? Although he understood that he couldn't be sure without knowing the details about Fleur's illness, he wondered if it was possible to intimidate the disease. He'll try and talk to Portmouth about it. He asked him to arrange a meeting with the Lord and the lady's doctor to explain the situation. After a while, Toru came to the Lord's house for a conversation. And so the Lord listened to him, and he said that he understood everything. The lady's body is weak, but besides the disease, there are forces in her that are able to resist this. And as a result, there is a struggle. Perhaps the demon often wins. Therefore, if they weaken the forces of the disease, they will be able to win. the Lord went to the doctor, and he asked him what his opinion was as a doctor. The doctor said that the reason why restorative magic does not work on diseases is because it restores the disease itself. However, if there is an obvious cause of the disease, then you can extinguish it, as in the case of antidote magic. But these are only a few cases, and if Tori is able to weaken some of the power of the disease, then he would not be able to use his powers on him. Tori asked the doctor directly, and he told him that yes. Tori thought that he hadn't used his intimidation on anyone yet, but he had to try. And at the same moment, Tori told the doctor that he would do it. He held out his hand in front of him and said that he was starting. But then the doctor's face twisted. Tori was scared by this, and he asked him if he was okay. The doctor told him that he was fine, but he was doing it with full force. Tori told him that no. He was much stronger when things were serious. The doctor asked what. He told the guy that he was fine, and he said he just wanted to make sure he knew his limits. And Tori told him that yes. Okay, then he starts. Tori began to use intimidation towards the doctor. He immediately started screaming in pain, and after a while his eyes started to close. And after a moment, the doctor fell down. Tori tensed and thought that he had killed him. He immediately ran to the doctor, and he asked him if he was okay. The doctor told him that yes, he was fine. Tori thought that thank God he was alive. The doctor adjusted his glasses and said that it was a huge force. He asked the guy that he could also direct her to the mistress, but the guy thought that it was a bit wrong. Tori gave his hand to the doctor, and he told him that he was directing this force only against the disease, not against Miss Biss. And of course, they will increase the pressure as the process progresses. As is the case with so-called medicines. The doctor told Tori that everything was fine, and he asked Tori if it could really be activated only against the disease. The guy replied that yes, definitely. The doctor told him that if that was the case. But Tori told them all that he couldn't say for sure that he could, and so he would like to know his opinion and asked for help. At that moment, Portmouth turned to Mr. Tori. He asked him if it wasn't a dangerous idea, after learning the reaction of their doctor. But then the Lord turned to Portmouth and he asked him not to say such a thing. The man agreed with him. Mr. Richard has been thinking about this for a very long time when it comes to his daughter's health, and that it can be fatal. It's natural for him to be upset. Mr. Richard said he understood. He decided to see how it would go, and they will do it all gradually. Richard reached out to Tori and he asked him if he could ask him for a favor. The guy replied that he was. He said that he treats this with extreme caution, and he will definitely find a way to cure Miss. They had already arrived at Floor's room. Tori said that's when they start the treatment. Miss Floor told him that yes, please. But the guy said that doesn't mean they're going to do anything special, and Floor offered to talk to him then. She said she wanted to hear Tori's story. The guy said that then he would start with the story he knew. He's going to talk about Japan, of course, but not about my student life, which was boring in many ways. And he talked about films and cartoons, as well as organizations of famous origins, and also about the references. As a sample, he took a story about an adventurer hunting dragons. He tried to tell a story based on a popular game, but it was difficult, so he took the novel as a basis. And Mrs. Eyes lit up, and she listened to him very attentively. He barely made it to the scheduled time. He never thought that he would talk about some fantasy like this, and it was a really interesting experience. For an amateur storyteller, he would even say, well, Miss Floor listened to him attentively, and she told him that, oh, how interesting it was, and she is looking forward to continuing. And the guy answered her, whoa. He visited her later. He had heard that she had a fever again last time. They discussed whether it was worth continuing the treatment at the usual pace, because now she was in bed longer. But, as Miss wanted, they scheduled the intimidation for the same time as last time. When Tori arrived, Floor happily told him that she had been waiting for him. The guy was also happy about what he heard, and he asked her for forgiveness for waiting. He thought she looked much better than he had expected. He wondered if the effects of bullying were beginning to show, but he does not think that it is possible to achieve an effect in such a short time. He thought about that. But anyway, he's glad she's feeling better. Fleur told the guy that she had been waiting for him for so long. She asked him to tell her about the continuation of their story. The guy replied to her that yes, of course, but he thought about what a pleasant smell it was. Tori turned to the girl and he asked her not to worry so much in anticipation. The girl replied that she was very sorry. The girl turned to Tori and she told him that she would be interested to know what happened next. At that moment, Tori thought that he felt like a babysitter, and if he had a sister, she would be the same. Tori decided to continue his story. Portmouth turned to the girl and he told her that he thought it was time. The girl asked him again that it was already time. The girl told him that yes, it was true. She said she was a little tired, and if they didn't mind, they didn't mind. At that moment, Tori wondered if she was all right. He has some kind of bad feeling. Meanwhile, 3 days have passed. Portmouth turned to Tori, and he told him that Miss had already woken up, but she's still in bed. And this surprised the guy very much. He thought that her feeling of fear had not overcome her illness at all. But no, if she has a fever, it means that the intimidation itself should work. But if she had been in bed for so long, then something had gone wrong. And at the same moment, Tori turned to the man, and he told him that they should stop the treatment. Portmouth replied that no, the lady insisted. So today he would ask him to do it again. But Tori told him no. But Portmouth told him it was a request, and Tori agreed with him, saying, "Ugh, good." Meanwhile, Tori arrived at the Lord's house. He went into Miss Fleur's room, and she told him that they were waiting for him. The guy wished the girl a good day. He thought about how she didn't look so bad. Fleur asked him what he wanted to talk about today. He was going to tell her about what had happened during those days, where they left off. But at that moment, Tori thought that no, she was definitely acting strangely. She was always firm in her answers. Tori turned to Miss Fleur. He told her that he was still thinking that they should stop talking for today. He asked her if it would be better if she had a good rest. But the girl got upset, and she told him that it was so terrible. She was looking forward to his story. The guy replied to her that he was very flattered. But if she calls him, he will come when it is convenient for her. He smiled and told her that they could continue when she felt better. The girl asked him if it was true. Tori replied to her that yes, of course. He never lies. And the girl thought about it at the same moment. She told him that she understood. Since he says so, it means that there is a reason for it. And she will sleep well tonight. Tori thanked her for that. The girl was surprised by this, and she asked the guy why he thanked her. He said that he would be happy if she was healthy. He also told her that if she was willing to put up with him for this, then he should be grateful to her. Fleur smiled at the guy, and she asked him that Master Tori was really a mysterious person, wasn't he? The girl said she would put up with talking, and at the same moment, the girl asked him that then maybe he would take her hand. This shocked Tori very much. He asked her again about holding her hand. He immediately turned to Portmouth and he asked him if this was normal. But the man only lowered his eyes and smiled slightly at him. Tori said that he understood and then decided to do it. Tori walked up to the girl and he put his hand on her arm. But he was immediately confused by something and asked what kind of cold it was. Miss Fleur smiled at him and she asked the guy that she had surprised him. "It's very cold, isn't it?" The girl said that when she wakes up with a high temperature, they become even colder. So she would like Master Tori's hands to warm her up. She turned to the guy and asked him if she didn't mind. But Tori was only delighted and he said that of course. He asked her to provide it to him. He began to warm his hands. But the girl, when she saw this, told Tori that he didn't need to go that far. But Tori told her that no, it was fine. The guy continued to actively heat his hands in order to warm Miss Fleur's icy hands. Tori touched her hands with his own. He exhaled and told her that now he was starting to warm her hands with his own. The girl smiled sweetly at this because she was pleased that Mr. Tori listened to her and he was able to fulfill her request without any problems. She said that Master Tori's hands are very warm. Fleur turned to Tori and she told the guy that, to be honest, she had a vague premonition during the fever, that this might be their last meeting. But the guy, hearing these words, he was very surprised and even outraged by this. He told her that it wasn't true. He told her that when her temperature rises, it is due to the fact that the body is fighting the disease. But when she gets cold, it's because she coped. It's because she coped. The guy told the girl that he was sure he was getting better every day. The girl told him that if her hands became cold again, then Master Tori would come to warm them, wouldn't he? The guy was surprised by this, and he said that, well, yes, that's the key to the solution. At that moment, Fleur giggled a little. She said it was just a little prank. At that moment, Tori turned to Miss Fleur. He began to warm her hands even more with his own hands. And the girl looked at him sweetly. She also turned to Tori. But Tori immediately looked at the girl with excitement. Fleur told him that if her body got too cold. At that moment, Tori was watching the small, trembling hand. Fleur asked him about holding her hand again, and the guy understood that these were her words, that she was giving up. This surprised the guy very much, and he looked at the girl with excitement. But after a moment, he got very angry. He lowered his arms, got to his feet, and said it was impossible. At that moment, Portmouth was closely watching everything that was happening there. The guy squeezed his hands tightly, and he confidently told the girl that he would not allow this, and he wouldn't let her be unhappy. He knew that he didn't care if she thought he was bluffing. He understood that she would be cured. Tori told the girl that he didn't care what she said or why she said it. He told her that he would make sure that she got better. So he asked Miss Fleur not to worry. The guy looked at the girl with a smile on his face, and he said that if she believed him, he would make miracles come true. The girl was looking at Tori intently. She turned to the guy. But she fell silent for a while and thought about it. But after a moment, Fleur told the guy that she was counting on him. After a while, Portmouth and Tori went outside. Portmouth turned to Tori, and he thanked him for his help. The guy listened to him, and he asked with a surprised face, what? He asked the man why he was saying this right now. Mr. Portmouth replied that he had no malicious intent, and he just told him that she had become extraordinarily happy lately. He smiled at Tori and told him that it was just a real pleasure to see her like this these days. He thought that it was as if the lady had regained her former vigor, and that's why he couldn't stop her. He told the guy that with all the physical exertion just to surprise him, Mr. Tori. At that moment, Tori thought about it. He turned to Mr. Portsmouth. The guy asked him what the hell Lady Fleur was sick of. The man closed his eyes and he told him that he would tell him everything about their mistress's past. That's what happened 11 years ago in the Hayato family. Miss Fleur was running down the road, and Lord Richard was watching her. He turned to the girl and told her that if she ran so fast, she would definitely fall. The girl happily replied to him that no, she was fine. And at the same moment, the girl stumbles and falls to the ground. The Lord saw it and he shouted, "Ugh! Fleur." He went up to the girl and told her that, well, she really is a naughty girl. Lord asked Fleur if she was hurt. The girl just looked at Richard and laughed awkwardly. She apologized to him for that. The girl told the Lord that everything was fine and she was not nearly hurt. The girl turned her attention to her feet. She didn't understand what was going on. The girl asked what happened to her because she couldn't move her legs. This alarmed the man very much. And now Fleur has already been put to bed. Her dad was sitting on the floor next to her. The girl turned to the Lord, and she asked him what was wrong with her. The man just took her hand, and he asked her not to worry. Richard told her it was just a cold. And after a while, the Lord shouted, what the hell? It's not treatable. The doctor told them that they had tried all possible methods of treatment. He also said that he was afraid that they had no effect. But Lord Richard shouted to him that he was the best doctor in the capital. This is absurd. The doctor replied to the man that he could not say anything more. But Richard turned to him and said that he would pay them as much as he wished. Only he asked to cure his daughter. He was already completely exhausted by the situation, and he just asked him once again to save Fleur. But the doctor only apologized to him. He said that they were no longer able to do anything, and they can only prolong her life. And these words made Richard very angry. He immediately started banging on the table and shouting, damn! This caused a cup with a drink to fall on the floor and it spilled. And so, after a while, Richard came to Fleur's room. She looked at him and asked, "Father?" The man apologized to her, and he said that he did not want to wake her up. But the girl just smiled at him and she said nothing. She asked her father that her doctor had already left. The man replied to her that he did. He said that he was confident that he would make her a good medicine. And the girl smiled at him and asked that she could walk and play again. But then the man hesitated for a while. He gathered his thoughts and replied to her that yes, of course. He told the girl that she would recover quickly. And the girl answered him that yes. After listening to this story, Tori asked Portmouth about the fact that the lady had been ill for so long. He thought about how, to be honest, she had been thinking about the fact that she had only been ill for a couple of years. From her beautiful hair and the way she talked to him, he assumed that not so long ago she was healthy. Portmouth told the guy that they had accepted the treatment offer, at least because the situation can't get any worse. He said that even if the lady's life is in danger, They still hope that her illness can be cured, and it is precisely because they seize every chance that the Lord has made such a decision. He said that the lady had done her best today, and before she met Master Turi, she put on a lot of makeup to deceive him about the color of her skin. And during the meeting with him, she behaved emphatically correctly. At that moment, Turi wondered if it was the sweet smell of cosmetics. Portmouth said he couldn't stop her. He said that the way she talks to him is just like old times. He was thrilled to see her like this again. But then Portmouth said that it looked like he was delayed. Too late. He turned to Turi and told him that he thought it was time for him to go home. The guy agreed with him, and he thanked Mr. Portmouth for talking to him. They all went home after a long conversation. Turi was already in bed, but he was only thinking that he didn't know what to do. The guy realized that it was certainly his fault that the young lady's health deteriorated so quickly. He misjudged her medical history and assumed that everything would be easier. He realized that he should have spent more time. If your health has been gradually deteriorating for more than a decade, then you need to spend more time on its recovery. He lay there and said that his overconfidence in the effect of intimidation was all his fault. He thought about what a fool he was, but he knew he needed to cool down a little. The guy went outside to get some air and take a walk. The nights in this city are much darker than in Japan, and his eyes weren't used to it yet. He could barely see his feet. The street lights are out at this hour, and this is a good time for reflection. But then the guy saw someone in front of him. It was Mia, who, when she saw the guy, asked him that it was him, Tori. The guy was surprised that he saw the girl, and he asked her, "Oh, and Mia." He asked the girl what she was doing at such an hour. The girl told him that she had to say it. She was at work. The girl turned to Tori, and she asked him about what he was doing there at such an hour. The guy immediately hesitated, and he did not know how to answer this question correctly. And the girl at that moment was looking at him attentively and waiting for an answer from him. She turned to Tori. She asked him if he would like to walk with her for a while. The guy was a little confused, and he asked again, "Whatto aching with him?" He replied that he didn't mind. The girl happily told him that, then everything was decided. And so Mia and Tori went for a walk along a small street. At that moment, Tori thought that they had never been alone together before. He looked at the girl. Mia turned to the guy, and she told him that she had such a hard day at work. She thought she would have to stay the night. The girl said that Rita took care of the rest. She kindly replaced her to thank her for everything she had done for her. Tori laughed a little, and he said that the two of them really get along, and the girl agreed with him. But then she told him that she meant that they were friends. She asked Tori about what had happened to him. The girl told him that he looked very tired, and the guy immediately asked her again. He really looks tired. The guy agreed with her, and he said yes, it looks like it. Maybe he was really tired. But at that moment, he thought about why he couldn't talk about it with her. Tori apologized to the girl and said that it was okay. She might forget, and the girl immediately looked at the guy questioningly. Mia looked at the sky, and she told the guy that the moon was beautiful today. The guy agreed with her, and he said that this was indeed the case. In response, the girl smiled at him. Mia said that the profession of an adventurer is sometimes deadly. She said that's why everyone in the guild is so violent. There are times when adventurers come together as a whole. She asked Turi if he knew about it. Turi asked her in what way. The girl told him that when they eat delicious vegetables together, they bring a smile to everyone's face. She asked him about that, and yet, it's sad, isn't it? The girl told him with a smile on her face that the man who brought them happiness had his face. Turi turned to Mia, but the girl replied to him that they were forbidden to meddle in the affairs of adventurers. And she won't ask for details. She's just a secretary at the Adventurers Guild. But the girl told him that now she is just Mia, who lives in this house. And that's why she only wants to say one thing. Mia turned to Tori, and she wished him luck. The guy thanked her for that. But then Tori turned to Mia. He apologized to the girl and told her that she had to run. Mia smiled at the guy, and she told him that, of course, they would see each other at the guild. And so Tori ran very fast through the houses. He remembered that he had promised the girl that he would save her, and he wasn't lying at all when he said that. Then, he has only one thing to do, to find out the possibilities of intimidation himself. He understood that Fleur's condition had changed because of his intimidation. But that's not because he was intimidating, but because he can't control it. The virus, weakened by his bullying, regains its strength when he leaves, and this is the main reason for the girl's decline in strength. In other words, someone or something besides him is keeping her under pressure. And if only he could be with her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's almost impossible. He understood that, first of all, unless Fleur's condition was incredibly severe, she probably wouldn't want to let a suspicious person like him into her room. And he's just a high school student, just an adventurer in the city. The guy understood that Fleur believed in him, and then he will try to match it. The first thing he did was a tomato. Overripe tomatoes are slimy inside. And, to be honest, they don't taste very good. He thought that he would be able to intimidate the virus by acting on it in stages. He asked Portsmouth to let Fleur eat them as they were. But it didn't work. And apparently, you can't make plants intimidating. Tori did not understand. If food does not help, then what to do? Meanwhile, Portsmouth came to Fleur, and he gave her a gift from Toru. The girl immediately asked him what the bookmark was. The girl accepted the gift, and the purse left her room. The girl lay down in bed and picked up this bookmark. But it didn't help. Meanwhile, a dog was walking near Tori's house. She was passing by the house, and then she saw an attractive stick, and the dog immediately did all his business right at her. This amused Tori a lot. The guy lay down on the grass and spread his arms. He said that convergent intimidation is used too often. Experiments with its application to a wooden stick to remotely generate a sense of fear were also unsuccessful. He thought that if he could use magic, he would have more opportunities. Meanwhile, Rita and Mia left the Adventurers Guild. Rita stretched and she said that this was the end of the day. Rita turned to Mia and she asked her what she wanted to eat at home today, and the girl immediately asked her that she was listening to her. Mia didn't answer her questions, and Rita asked her what she was staring at. Mia told her no, she was just thinking. Well, it doesn't matter. Rita told her that anyway, the moon is so bright today, and thanks to her, she looks great even at night. Mia called out to Rita. Mia turned to Rita, and she asked her if she thought there was a god in this world. Rita thought about this question. She asked the girl what it was, talking about religion. Mia told her that no, it wasn't. Mia asked her that if there is a god, then perhaps he listens to the requests of people who are trying very hard. Rita asked her not to be stupid. She told Mia that if that was the case, then she must be the richest person on the continent. Well, it's just ridiculous. She said that instead of a fictional being who gives her nothing, she has a Toru who gives her vegetables. That's right. Rita said that at first she thought he was boring. And Mia laughed about it, agreeing with her. She said it was true. And Rita told her that she was right. She said that if there really is a god, as she says, then of course he will be watching. Because the moon is so beautiful. Meanwhile, Toru stood alone in the forest. He had heard that the jewelry he had bought with all his money was a kind of magical tool containing magical power. He doesn't know the source of their frightening power. It must be something close to soul energy magic. And if he doesn't succeed, then he won't be able to do anything. He thought about the dark night talking to him. He asked himself in his mind what he was trying so desperately to do. She's a stranger to him, and the guy seemed to answer that she was glad of the snowbell that he gave her. She said his vegetables were delicious, and she listened to his stories with a smile on her face, and he understood that this smile was not fake. And of course, this does not mean that he will establish a deep connection with the girl he has just met. It's just show-off, complacency, and selfishness. He has only one wish. Even if he has to spend all the power he has accumulated, he understood that he wanted to see her smile again. He prayed that he would be given the strength to be with her, and the strength to help his precious friend. And at the same moment, some kind of force appeared right in front of him and flashed with a bright flash. It was an enhancement of internal skills. He has had an evolution of bullying and an improvement in bullying. Tori was looking up, and he said that this light, and suddenly, a status menu appeared right in front of him. He read everything that was written there, and at the same moment, he thanked God for it. He lay down on the ground and said what he thinks he can handle, maybe. And so the guy got the skill of directed intimidation. He took a small stick. I looked at her and said it was good. And the guy immediately swung this stick. Tori threw her so that she got stuck in a tree. The animals that were standing near this tree ran away in fear. Tori looked at it and he said that this is what it is, a new, unique skill. And at that moment, he remembered something. Tori said that, by the way, precious stones. The guy took one of them and he said that he couldn't reuse them. The guy immediately exhaled and laughed a little. and at the same moment, Tori swung and threw this precious stone into the lake that was next to him. He shouted that they were useless now. He thought that due to the workload, or maybe thanks to God, the intimidation had been intensified, and he had acquired a new derivative inner skill. New skills are bullying, wedge, and disease intimidation. And that's what was in the memo of the Helper Angel. He's got a whole new improvement, intimidation. The canonical development of intimidation is what it is. It's a symbol, not a level. It's weird. Well, the angel said that in any case, the effect of skills based on intimidation has increased, as has the effect of intimidation has increased, as has the effect of intimidation itself. And he also has a special and rare ability, the intimidation of diseases. If you reduce the activity of the disease below a certain level by constant intimidation, then you can slow down and suppress its progression. Another unique skill. The definition of illness is very extensive, but it seems to the angel that God has largely corrected it, so he thinks that everything is fine. And also the ability is an intimidating wedge. He can turn the sword of intimidation into 3 wedges. When a person knocks one of them into an enemy, he will be intimidated forever. The angel said that this is a very rare ability, and if he knows how to use it, then it will be very useful. I mean, it shouldn't be that easy to get, but that's okay. After a while, Tori arrived at Lord Richard's house. He asked Portsmouth if he could borrow a flower to look after it. The man immediately thought about it. He told him that the maids were watering him and stuff. Wasn't that enough? Tori told him that since he was in a pot, he should be treated a little differently. Portsmouth listened to him, and he said he understood everything, and so the man gave Tori a flower in a pot. Tori looked at the pot and inserted a small stick into it. He said that, okay, now the bullying wedge should keep Mrs. Illness at bay. Meanwhile, in her room, Miss Fleur was lying on the bed. She got up from the bed and said, Toax, Tori. But then she realized that he was not there, and she asked that it was her imagination. At that moment, the flower in the pot was gradually growing and blooming. And so, after a while, Portsmouth came to Tori's house. He turned to the guy and told him that the condition of the mistress was gradually improving. Tori happily asked him if it was true. He sat down on the ground and let out a sigh of relief. The man said that he thought it was nice to hear that he had made progress. Portsmouth turned to Tuori and he told him that he knew Master Tuori had to do something. The guy told him that, no, he just happened to do something. But Portsmouth told him no, it wasn't a coincidence. Portsmouth turned to Tori and he told him that he was very glad that he had asked him about it. Tori held out his hand and the guy turned to Portsmouth. The man told Tori that the lady would like to see him. He said that he was afraid that it would no longer be possible today, but she would be glad to see him later. Tori told him that, of course, he has no reason to refuse. Meanwhile, another week has passed. Tori arrived at Lord Richard's family home. The guy came up to Miss Fleur's room, and he knocked on her door and also said that he was the one who came. The girl told him that he could go. The girl smiled at Tori as soon as he entered the room. The girl turned to the guy. She told him that they had not seen each other for a long time. She also said that it was the second time they had said hello. At that time, Tori was looking at the girl, and he thought she was an angel. Fleur told the guy that he was saying the same thing as when they first met, and this surprised the guy very much. Tori told her that no. Well, he asked her about the fact that she had heard him that time too, and Fleur winked at him and said, yes, she had good hearing. Tori immediately started apologizing to the girl. He said he was just, no, he means it was said casually, and the girl was looking at him and laughing. He said it was déjà vu, but now everything is different. He thought that her previously whites had looked noticeably better, and a natural blush appeared on the cheeks, and the hair reflects more light than before. He thought that her golden hair seemed to have a real angelic halo. And even with an untrained eye, it was clear that she was on the road to recovery. Tori turned to Fleur, and he asked her how she was feeling. The girl replied to the guy that she was fine. She immediately showed her hands and asked Tori to take a look. Fleur told him that she could even beat their chef right now. Tori laughed about it, and he told her that she was full of energy. The guy told her that if she defeated the chef, then there would be no one to cook. And he wants her to enjoy his vegetables, so he asked her to keep her fists to herself. The girl smiled at him, and she told Tahuri that yes, it would be a pity to lose such an opportunity. The girl said that if only it were possible, she would like to have dinner with her father, mother, and Tori one day. The guy, hearing this, was very happy. He replied to the girl that yes, he would get direct feedback about his vegetables, and he could reflect on what he grows. He said that it would be great. Fleur smiled at the guy, and she asked him if he liked his job. Didn't she? The guy thought about it, and he replied to her that, well, you can say that. He told her that he likes it because he sees the results. Fleur turned to the guy, and she told him that she would like to introduce him to her mother. Tori was embarrassed, and he asked the girl to wait. He thought about the fact that the Lord, his wife, and his beloved daughter were in one place. The guy said that he would learn table manners for now. At that moment, Fleur looked at Tori questioningly. The girl asked him that, by the way, today he was going to continue this story, yes. Tori told her that, of course. He said that the next part might be too exciting for her sick body. The girl was immediately surprised by this, and she said, huh, oh my God. The girl admitted that she was looking forward to it. And so, the guy told her that then they could start. At that moment, Tori thought about where they had left off last time. Fleur turned to Tori. The guy asked her what it was. The girl asked Tori if he could warm her flower while he was talking, and the guy happily agreed to it. He told her that this was all he could do for now. He shouted, oh my God. The girl asked him if it was such a surprise. She turned to the guy and told him that he had promised her. He said he would come back to warm her up, and the guy told her that it was true. Fleur turned to Tori with a smile on her face, and she asked him that he would keep his word. The guy laughed awkwardly. He said he lost. He sat down next to the girl, took her hands, and he told her that now, if she would excuse him, he could start. At the same moment, something surprised the guy very much. He thought about when he held Fleur's hands, that the feeling when he gently touched her hand, that warmth, was a sign that she would definitely recover, and the guy told her that he was going to warm it up. The girl smiled at him, and she agreed with him. The guy went on to tell and said that, and then, after the hero united the two kingdoms, he became king. And the guy and the girl in their imagination both imagined different pictures throughout the guy's story. At this time, Tori held the girl tightly by her hands. After a while, Fleur got upset and she told Emma that, he had already gone home. She said he could have stayed longer. Emma asked the girl that she really likes Tori's story, right? Fleur said it was because he ended the story right at the most interesting place. Master Tori is indeed a cunning man. She also said that she couldn't believe they were only halfway there. She can't stop thinking about the continuation of the story. Emma told the girl that she was also interested in learning the sequel. Fleur picked up the book, and she asked about it anyway, whose adventure story it was. She said that for a fictional story, it is, oddly enough, well written, and yet the names of places and people who actually exist do not appear. There are no such stories in the library, which is full of books. The girl said that it was very strange. The girl asked if it was really strange. She immediately thought about it. Fleur asked that it was a little late for weirdness now, wasn't it? She also said that besides, it was as if she had a feeling that Master Tori had been around for a long time. At that moment, Emma turned to Miss Fleur. He told her that she seemed to blush a little. This surprised and confused the girl very much. Emma told her that she would ask her to prepare medicine right away. Fleur immediately turned away from Emma and lay down in bed. She told her it was okay. It was okay. And the girl immediately plunged into her thoughts. Master Tori's next visit will take place in 3 days. It's been a long time for a girl. She would really like these days to pass as soon as possible, but prayers do not change the speed of the shadows falling on the room. It had been so many years since she hadn't been afraid of tomorrow at night. She can't sleep because of her impatience. As a child, the day before the picnic, the night before it, she couldn't sleep either. She had that feeling that she had completely forgotten about. It must be a gift from God. And so the girl lay in bed and still couldn't fall asleep. She thought that no, it was a gift from a real hero. Meanwhile, Tori joined the Adventurers Guild. He came in late and said it had been a long time since he started delivering vegetables. But the moment he entered the guild, they immediately started shouting at him that the god of vegetables had descended. Tori approached Mia and he told her that they were even more noisy today, and someone shouted that it was a vegetable paradise. Mia laughed about it and she said that he was very popular. But then the guy disagreed with her, and he said that no, he was not popular. And at the same moment, someone shouted that it was her dancing radish. But then she was told, laughing, that these were her tomatoes and everything else. She said they had agreed that the reward and food would be shared equally. Tori said that even though it's a different world, it's somewhat like a supermarket. Rita shouted that she wanted this tomato too. The girls were not satisfied with this and they shouted, Rita. But then an evil voice was heard, which ordered them to be silent. Rita. But then an evil voice was heard, which ordered them to be silent. It was the guild master, and he asked the girls about what they, adults, were arguing about. Rita told him that she was not like them. She's a fragile girl. The master shouted that if this was the case, then they should not get involved in the conflicts of others. At this point, Tori said that, but if they were so happy, then it was worth it. Mia smiled too, and she said that they needed the adventurers to become stronger. She turned to Tori and told him to grow more vegetables, and the guy answered her, that's for sure. But then he thought about it and said no, he was an adventurer himself. And at the same moment, one of the adventurers tasted the vegetables. Tori and he shouted that it was delicious. He said that so, now that they have replenished their energy, let them go on a quest. And everyone supported him and shouted yes. At that moment, Tori thought that he was a dashing adventurer, wasn't he? And the same man, looking at Tori, shouted that he was a vegetable god. This confused the guy, and he asked what the man was saying about him. The man leaned over to Tori, and he thanked him for the delicious vegetables. Tori turned to the man, and he told him that no, he didn't need to thank him. But immediately the man interrupted him, and he told him that these vegetables fill his muscles with energy. Tori thought that he seemed to be scaring his friends. The man apologized to Tori, and he told him that they hadn't met him yet. He told him that he would train them so that they could say hello to him. And Tori told him that he would train them so that they could say hello to him. And Tori told him to do so. And so, when leaving the guild, the man wished Tori good luck. At that moment, Tori thought that he was from a schoolgirl to a farmer. It's not exactly the reincarnation he imagined, but he thinks it's a good thing too. At the same moment, Tori turned to Mia. He thanked her for that day. The guy told her that he wouldn't be there now, she hadn't talked to him then. The girl told him that no, she hadn't done anything. She smiled sweetly at the guy, and told him that besides the fact that she was now just Mia's administrator, Tori laughed awkwardly and he told the girl that he was no match for her now. Mia asked the guy that he was leaving today, and Tori told her that no, actually, there is something else. He told her that he's been cooking a lot lately, and at the same moment he turned to Miss Mia. He told her that he would like to invite her to his house for dinner, if she didn't mind. But this surprised the girl very much. The guy asked her again about how she looked at it. Mia was looking at the guy and she thought that lunch was at Tori's house. It's a date. She was just shocked by such an offer. And the guy, without waiting for an answer, turned back to Mia. The girl did not answer. And now it's finally time to feast. And it wasn't long before he asked Mia out on a date. The guy was standing with a hoe on his shoulder, and he exhaled from the fact that he was tired. He thought that Fleur was feeling better, and all the bad things were over. He looked at his vegetable garden, and the guy said that he thinks that's all for today. He thought about how he had been busy working at their house for the past 2 months. He finally had some free time. In short, he's free. And at that moment, he lay down on the grass. Tori thought about how his wedge had come together on vegetables. He will still have free time before the harvest. The guy said that he was doing a lot of things when he came into this world. He collected herbs, earned a few coins a day. He grew vegetables and cooked delicious food from them. The guy caught dancing radishes for pennies. He's fishing for protein, and the only thing he hasn't done yet is, he knows it sounds like something impossible, but he has a home. And at the same moment, he thought about what he hadn't done yet, and then he remembered that he was also engaged in cooking. The guy said that he has been cooking for a long time. But despite all these vegetables, they are only fried in his repertoire. And before his reincarnation, he would have lived his life as a humble man. And now he's a farmer, not an adventurer. He rolled up his sleeves and said that if he should boost his strength with good food, he picked up a knife, looked at it, and said that he should increase his cooking level. The guy came up to the stove and said that he couldn't even fry vegetables on this thing. He can't control the fire like on a stove, and this leads to burning of food, and the wok tends to burn. It's like the taste of charcoal on vegetables, and he could never slice meat properly with this knife. He said that he was wondering if this was the best use for him. He told the gentleman that he didn't need that much, but this time he decided to take advantage of their gratitude. So he came to the merchant guild next. He turned to Randall and asked him if he had any beautiful kitchen utensils. The man replied that, for his information, he was a merchant, not a craftsman. At that moment, he thought that it was true. He smiled at the man and told him that, well, he just thought he had something useful. In his mind, when he's in trouble, Mr. Randall will always come to his rescue. And so the man turned to the guy, and he told him that, well, in some way their merchant association also maintains relations with noble families, and they have a basic set of kitchen utensils for such people that they can use in their villas. And Tori immediately asked him to let him watch. Rendell got up from the couch, and he went to the closet. The man took out a stove from there, and he told Tori that it was a magic kitchen stove, and unlike ordinary ones, it was portable. Powered by a magic stone, it ignites and extinguishes fire at the touch of a button, and you can adjust the heat with this handle. And this is a set of pots and pans with a magic coating that makes them lighter and gives them anti-degradation and anti-polluting magic. He also has no risk of fire for 10 years, and there's also a set of knives. It also undergoes magical treatment to protect against rust and contamination. And then there are such little things as a wooden shovel. Rendell asked Tori what he thought, and the guy told him that it was perfect. He asked him, by the way, how much he owed him, and the man began to count how much money Tori had for the purchase. After a while, Tori left the merchant guild. He was walking down the street completely upset. The guy said that he did not expect it to be so expensive. He thought the price would be at the computer level, but it turned out to be like an expensive car. He realized that it reminded him of the first time he walked into a coffee shop. He didn't know that coffee costs more than lunch at the store, and he remembers how he calmly left without ordering anything. He said that it was the only time he was grateful for the lack of cash. In any case, he can't afford it yet. Tori thought about it, and he said that then he should do something about it. There was a wok pot in front of him, which had a lot of burnt meat on it. He picked up a brush and said that it was fine. He would try to fix it. He immediately began to rub these impurities off her, and he tried very hard to get rid of them. He looked into the pot and asked what it meant. He saw that nothing had been wiped off at all. Tori said that he hates doing this, and at the same moment, a thought occurred to him. He said that maybe his skill could help him, and the guy immediately put his hand in front of the pot. He used his intimidation ability. The cleansing process has started. The guy thought that even the most persistent burn spots can be destroyed, and after a while, he was already hanging snow-white, clean clothes in order for them to dry. The guy happily said that the amazing whiteness, which he had only seen in an advertisement for washing powder, even his wife would be surprised. And with that, he could open a dry cleaner. He also said that pots and pans have regained their former glory, and his clothes are clean. He feels good, and he knew that he was ready. And now Tori has already come to his kitchen. He wondered what he was going to try this time, and he immediately realized that they were eggs. He thought that in other worlds they are usually carefully cooked, but this is the limit for a dry, boiled egg. However, Tori wondered what was better than half-baked eggs. Fried, of course, or boiled. Yes, even omelets. Only eggs are allowed to be eaten uncooked. But he realized that trying to make a complicated omelet there was foolhardy. He picked up the egg and he said that now it scares. Tori put his hand out in front of him and he said that if intimidation works on viruses, then it should work on salmonella. And then he'll be fine, even if the dish is half done. And after a while, he got a terrified egg omelet. He picked up the spoon and looked at the dish. Tori said that he had messed up his form a little. He really did it. And now the guy has already started trying his intimidated omelet. He liked this omelet so much that he imagined that the opening of the omelet empire was taking place. It just melts in your mouth. This is too good a first step in cooking. And now he needs to repeat this dish for breakfast. Cooking is fun. This is the best part of a quiet life. Tori wondered if he needed a new kitchen. After a while, Tori went to the master and he apologized to him. He looked at him and just wanted to say hello. But then he saw a guy who wished him a good day, and the master immediately fell to the floor. The master was scared of Tori, and he pointed his finger at him and asked him who the hell he was. Thief. The guy came a little closer to him and apologized to him. He told him that he had heard that it was possible to buy kitchen equipment there, but the master asked in fright that he was actually his visitor. The man absolutely did not want to believe in it and accept his order. He turned to Tori again, and he asked him if he was a lord or a murderer. Who is he? The guy scratched his head, and he told him that no, he was just an adventurer. He uses 2 wedges of intimidation, so he's probably only 30% more intimidating right now. But it's still effective. And after a while, the master told the guy that here, he had prepared this for him. He showed him a heated stone, but this is just a small selection. He said that if you put magic into this stone, it emits intense heat for a certain period of time. The heat can be adjusted depending on the magic power used. Well, he doesn't have to worry about it. It's not that difficult. The master told Tori that instead of firewood, he could just throw it into the fireplace and immediately start cooking. He also said that it is necessary to close the mouth of the furnace, but it is inexpensive. Tori asked the master about that. What is the price? The man told him that the heating stone, the construction, the kitchen utensils. He asked Tori what about 10 coins. And the guy was immediately delighted, and he said that he was ready to start working for 10 gold pieces. He thought it was a great price. Tori told the master that this was a great offer. The master thanked the guy, and he invited him to sign this contract. And then some time later, Tori was at home. He started laughing happily. The guy said that it was finally finished. He was standing near his new kitchen and rejoicing. He had pots and pans, sharp knives, and finally himself. Tori looked at his knife carefully, and the guy said that now he can cook without any problems. And first, he's going to make a salad. He needed to put the lettuce in a bowl and put radishes with cucumbers as well as tomatoes and carrots there. He also really wanted to add avocado, but they don't sell it. He thought that maybe next time he would see what kind of vegetables exist in this world, and maybe there are others that look like dancing radishes. He took one of the ingredients, and Tori said that it's a bonito, isn't it? It's dried flakes. He assumes that he is certainly not made of bonito. And Tori asked what the hell the ingredients were then. Next, he needed to sprinkle with cabbage. And finally, pour in a hot egg. After a while, the frightening egg salad is ready. Tori then proceeded to prepare the main course. He immediately took the sword of intimidation and said that, first of all, meat, and he immediately cut him down with this sword. He knows it sounds silly, but it makes the meat more tender. He thought about how, after seasoning, the meat is coated with a thin layer around the perimeter and then grilled. And then there's the fish. He had already tried to work on the silverfish, but it didn't work out. And in the end, he got a dried fish. This time, he's going to grill her and make a manier. He put his hand out in front of him, pointed it at the fish, and he knew that he needed to aim at its bones and apply converging intimidation. And now that bullying has become more accurate than before, it will work on the dice. And it is obvious that fish bones become brittle when they are overloaded. And it makes it easier to eat silverfish, which has a lot of small bones. And if you season the fish with spices and sauce, thus the intimidated steak with silverfish is ready. And finally, he decided to add mashed vegetables and apple juice mixed with orange juice. He thought that, but for him, with the pepper taste, this is more than enough. Tori decided to put the tablecloths, which had turned white from the frightening cleaning. After that, it was time for Tori to feast. So the guy sat down at the table, and he decided to start with a steak. He looked at it and said it had a wonderful medium roast. Tori wished himself a pleasant appetite, and he immediately began to taste the steak he had prepared. And at this moment, when he bites it, it's like he's on a ride at breakneck speed. The taste overwhelms him. Tori thought that the surface was crispy due to the eerily delicious crust. As soon as he bites into it, the juices trapped inside are released, and there is no doubt that this is a real night of the flesh. Tori thought that while they were flowing, they were filling him up. Tori admitted that it was an electric parade of splendor. It was a parade of elite meat. Every cell in his body is trembling with delight. His dopamine rush knows no bounds. It's just a real flight in reality. And now, it's followed by a salad. He began to eat it. Tori thought about how refreshing vegetables freshen the palate after a high temperature, and it felt like he was lying on a refreshing plateau. But then the butterflies start dancing with the vegetables, which boast a delicious taste. But at that moment, all of a sudden, the killer appears. It was a hot egg. Tori thought about how he was instantly making his way into the salad for the lead role. The richness of the egg yolk is combined with the meat flavor, which remains on the tongue. He smiles and waves to him. And then there is Miunia. He remembered that the silverfish has many small bones. He tried this dish too, but as soon as he puts it in his mouth, the small bones pop up. He thought that the fish was pre-intimidated, but still, it has some elasticity, and this allows it to float up and create an eerie rhythm. The fish claps and clanks to the beat of the music. The skin is crispy and fragrant, his plump flesh. The delicious texture of the small bones enhances the taste of this dish, and he understood that this was a real composition of tastes. Meanwhile, the guy tasted the drink. Toru said with admiration that this was happiness for him, and if he could only share this happiness with someone, he would invite Mia. As soon as the guy remembered about Mia, he said that he would like to invite her to his place. And so Mia remembered how Toru had addressed her, and he had asked her what about coming to visit him. And so the girl was lying in her bed, and she was repeating that she had been asked out on a date. She giggled a little at that. But then she suddenly remembered something. She jumped out of bed and shouted that she needed to pick up clothes. Mia immediately ran to her closet, and she asked what she should wear. The girl took a couple of hangers, and she said that, well, this is already too childish, and the other is also no longer fashionable. She sighed with sadness in her eyes. Mia remembered Rita, and she said that if only there was someone she could talk to at such a moment. Suddenly, the girl said that, no, it was true. She was good in appearance, but if she talks to someone about it, she is sure that she will be ridiculed again. The girl lay back in bed and began to feel sad from the heavy choice of clothes. Meanwhile, night is falling on the city. Mia was sitting in the Adventurers Guild, and she was sad. The girl said that waiting is so difficult. But at that moment, someone knocked on the door of the guild. A girl came in the door and looked at Mia questioningly. The girl told her that she was welcome. But at that moment, she thought that this was not the right person. Although the time should already be right. And so Mia sat down on the chair again, and she said she was still waiting. At that moment, Rita came up to her, and she turned to the girl. She asked Mia how she was doing, and Mia was immediately frightened by her sudden behavior. She asked Rita what she was doing there and why she looked so tired, and Rita immediately replied to her that she was telling her that too. Rita told her that the cat is in heat waiting for a guy, and because of this, all the customers flock there. Rita asked Mia if she couldn't see it, and the girl looked questioningly at the queue. Rita told her that if she had time to wag her very beautiful tail, then she thought that she could help. But Mia immediately shouted that, oh no, she's very sorry. And Rita turned to the next in line and said that he could go there. And then some time later, Mia turned to Rita and she told her that she had succeeded, and the girl thanked Rita for that. The girl replied to Mia that yes, of course. She said that she doesn't know when she became like this. Rita said, pointing to the door, that there was someone she had been waiting for so long, and at the same moment she saw Toru, who greeted her. He apologized to her for being late. Mia was delighted when she saw the guy. She happily told him that she was welcome, and now the date day has finally arrived. Mia thought about how this time it was a date with Toru. She's sure he hasn't changed his clothes, and Mia thought that no, at least he wasn't getting dirty. Mia told Rita that he was wearing the same clothes as always. The girl replied to Mia that this is how men are made. She told her to just accept it. Rita apologized to the guy, and at first she called him God, but then corrected herself and said that he was Toru. Rita told him that she would prepare this kitty now, and she asked him to wait a minute. Mia heard this, and she thought she didn't understand him. But Toru smiled at the girls, and he asked them not to worry about him. He told them that they could prepare, and Rita thanked him for that. Rita immediately grabbed Mia, and she told her to go. Mia shouted to Toru that she would come back then. Toru smiled at the girl and told her that then see you later. He laughed at the girls and said it was so hectic, and so Rita and Mia came into the room. Rita stood over Mia, and she told her that she would work with her now. And she immediately demanded that Mia undress, and she grabbed and pulled on her scarf. Hearing and feeling this, Mia screamed loudly. She asked Rita about what she was doing, but Rita asked her about something she didn't understand. She told her that, of course, she was helping her get dressed, but Mia confidently told her that she could do it herself. Rita smiled at this, and she told her that, well, if that's the case, then let her do it. But however, no one likes to wait. Therefore, they better hurry up. And after a while, Mia was ready. She said that it was good, she borrowed it from her mother, and she is sure that it will help. She told Rita that, okay, she was going. Rita asked her to stay calm. Mia asked her what it was. Rita replied that the buttons were on the back. She would call it cutting-edge fashion. She doesn't think so. And Mia immediately exhaled. Rita got up from the bench and she started working on the buttons. Rita said, let her help. And Mia thanked her for that. And Rita also said about perfume. She said that she knows it's a little too much, but she's dealing with God, so she'll lend them to her. Mia was happy about this, and she asked if it was true. She told her that they are the most fashionable now, and the girl thanked Rita for that. Rita told Mia that they, the Kajanese, used them for hair, and Mia asked her what she needed then too. But then suddenly, she asked her to wait, and the girl immediately screamed, but in the next second, Mia covered her mouth with her paws. Rita turned to her and she told her that it was good that she didn't scream like that in front of him. But Mia asked her to shut up, and so Mia said that she buttoned up and applied perfume. Everything is fine now. But she doesn't even know what else to do. Rita told her that she didn't know. It seems to her that everything is fine. Rita told Mia to ask their vegetable god for a blessing for success, and Mia immediately told her that she did. She thanked Rita for her advice. The girl came to the door, and she told her that she was going. Rita told her that yes, she definitely had to pick up some vegetables for her. At that moment, Rita thought that cabbage, cucumber, carrots, radishes. Meanwhile, Mia came out to Tori and she apologized to him for waiting. She apologized for making him wait so long. But at that moment, when the guy saw the girl, he just couldn't say a word. He couldn't take his eyes off such a beautiful girl. Mia, noticing this, called out to the guy, and Tori immediately apologized to the girl. He told her that she was so sweet, and it suits her. This made Mia very embarrassed. She immediately bowed her head in front of him and thanked the guy for the compliment. Tori turned to Mia, and he asked her about what they were going to do, and so they left the Adventurers Guild. There was a scary aura around Tori. All the people the guy passed by looked at him in fear. At that moment, Mia thought that on the way to his house, they couldn't just be silent. She needed to talk to him about something, but she didn't know what. She thought about how she was so nervous that she couldn't think of anything. She turned to herself, and she asked herself how she could do that. The girl did not know at all what to talk about at such moments, and she thought she could talk about vegetables, the weather, hobbies. But then Tori turned to Mia. He told her that they had already arrived. This surprised the girl very much, and she asked the guy that he was telling the truth. She thought about what had already come while she was thinking for so long. But there's nothing you can do since they're there. You just have to let it go. At this time, the guy was telling the girl that his field was over there. But then the girl turned around, and she saw a dried fish. She was drooling from such delicious fish. The guy saw it, and he started giggling. He turned to the girl and told her that if she wanted dried fish, then on the way back, he would give her some as a souvenir. But then the girl asked what. She awkwardly said that she loves dried fish very much. The girl couldn't stop thinking only about her excellent taste. The girl thanked him for that. She thought at that moment that she looked so petty. Meanwhile, they had already entered the house. The girl said it was Tori's room. She thought about how it was so neat that it didn't look like an adventurer's place. And it seems to her that she has never been in the men's room before. Tori addressed the girl as Miss and said that she could come and sit at the table. The word Miss surprised the girl very much. She asked the guy why he called her Miss, and the guy told her that she could sit down at the table. At that moment, Mia thought that she had never been called that before. She's just a country girl in the city. And Mia immediately apologized to Tori. She sat down at the table and thought about how nervous she was when people treated her like that. And the tablecloth is so white that it looks expensive. She thought that he was definitely not for someone like her. At the same moment, the girl thought that no, she has to get into the image of a successful girl who is not nervous. And at the same moment, Tori said that then he would cook a meal. And the girl was immediately very surprised by this, and she shouted at him to wait 1 minute. After a while, Tori put a plate of intimidated salad on the table, and he said that this was not all, just an appetizer. When she saw this dish, she said that it looked just delicious. She asked the guy what the white thing in the middle was, and Tori told her that it was a hot egg. He said no, he would have said it was a half-boiled egg. This surprised the girl very much, and she asked that it was semi-boiled. Mia asked Tori if it was safe to eat. Tori told her that yes, because he specially processes eggs, but he doesn't think it's that easy to believe. And at the same moment, the guy broke a few eggs into a mug, and he drank it in one gulp. Seeing this, Mia was simply shocked. She shouted to Tori that, "But these are raw eggs." But the guy drank them all and said with a smile on his face that she would believe that they were quite edible. Mia said that he speaks well. But is it true? And so the girl picked up a fork, and she decided to try an egg. And, at the same moment, the wonderful taste simply delighted her. She asked Tori what it was. She told Tori that it was completely different from the eggs she usually eats. It's so soft and rich in flavor. The girl just enjoyed this taste, and she said that this combination is so delicious. She told the guy that she had never eaten such eggs before. She asked the guy that only he could do such a thing. And Tori immediately thought about it. He told her that, well, he didn't really know. The girl told him that's how it was. She said that now, salads from restaurants don't seem so tasty to her. At these words, Tori smiled and he told her that she had fallen under the spell of a boiled egg. And then they will continue with the main course. He put a plate on the table for her and said that here you are. It was Pandora steak and Poppin' Munir. The girl looked at the plate and she happily said that that was it. The meat looks very appetizing, and so does the fish. She thought about it and repeated, "Ta seeing." But at the same moment, the girl said that then she would start with meat. The guy noticed this and he told her that Mia is the kind of person who leaves her favorite food for later. And so Mia thought that dried fish turns her into a hungry kitty. She said that in any case she would eat some meat. And at the same moment, there was an explosion of taste in her mouth. The girl shouted that it was amazing. She said that the outside is crispy and the inside is juicy, and the juices overflow from the inside. She turned to Tori and told him that meat from restaurants was no match. Tori thought about it and he asked the girl if it was true. And he said yes, it was. He told her that he used his secret cooking method to keep the flavor inside, just like Pandora. Yes, as a mimic. He said that it's not the demon that comes out of the meat, but the juices. And the girl understood that this was not a monster. Her mouth is full of happiness. She told him that it was amazing. After the meat, it's time for the fish. She said that they, the cat people, are all crazy about fish. And she could eat it every day. But there's one thing they don't like. Namely, these are bones. They get stuck in her throat more than slugs in a dungeon. She hopes that Tori won't have that. And so the girl tastes a piece of fish, and in the same second she realizes that it tastes great. She grabbed her mouth and asked Tori what it was. The guy laughed a little and he said, "Small bones." He asked her about the fact that they had jumped out. Tori told her that this is also his cooking method, which allows the bones to float. And when someone eats fish, the small bones are not a disadvantage. They add texture. And from a nutritional point of view, she gets calcium and vitamins at the same time. It took a lot of trial and error to achieve such a texture. But then he said that, well, let them leave unnecessary information aside. He asked the girl to eat with pleasure. And in the meantime, Tori brought the girl a special vegetable juice. Tori. Mia said that the vegetables they eat all the time, they look different when the juice is squeezed out of them. And Mia turned to the guy, and she thanked him for the food. The girl told him that everything was very tasty. She immediately corrected herself and said that no, they were amazing. Mia turned to Tori and told him that she had never eaten anything like this in her life. Even in the city, you can't buy this for any money. After listening to the girl, Tori thanked her for such compliments. He also said that, by the way, he had prepared dessert if she was still hungry. The guy said it was French toast. The girl looked at him with a sinking heart and said dessert. But then she thought that after eating all these delicious dishes, her stomach was getting bigger and bigger. And yet, he still tells her that he can fight, and she doesn't want to be a hungry cat. And so she looked at the dessert and thought about how golden and crispy it was. His sweet scent slows down her thinking, and she understood that she was no longer ready to resist. And at the same moment, the girl started eating this dessert. And a hungry kitty with French toast in her hands said that it was very tasty. Hearing this, Tori was very happy. Mia turned to the guy, and she told him that the dessert was so delicious. She ate too much, and the guy laughed about it. Mia thought at that moment that they had already had dinner. And by the way, there are no weapons or armor in Tori's room, even though he calls himself an adventurer. She thought about how she was wondering who he was again. And so the girl turned to Tori and she asked him that, well, where he was before he came to this city. She told him that he had no money when he joined the guild. And at the same moment, Tori began to think. He said that he thinks he has left everything behind in his native country, and he will probably never be able to see that sky again. The girl listened attentively to the guy. She said with a sad face that she was sorry. She didn't want to. Tori stopped her, and he said no. She didn't even have to worry about it. He told her that he could not say that he had left nothing behind in this country. Life there is also fun, and he doesn't even have time for sentimentality. Tori said that he had made new friends, and besides, he met Mia. And the girl looked at the guy sweetly, and she turned to Mr. Tori, and so they smiled sweetly at each other for a while. But then the guy said, okay, he doesn't want to talk about himself. Tori asked Mia about how about we talk about her, and this made the girl very happy, and she shouted, shh, ah, shh, yes. She said that if she could answer something, then let him ask her everything. And so the guy turned to Mia, and he asked her that she was one of the human cats, wasn't she? He said that he had never seen them before arriving there, and the guy asked her to tell him about them. Mia replied that yes, she understood him about them. Mia replied that yes, she understood him. She said that then she would start with the history of the cat people. And then, a few minutes later, the girl told him that a long time ago there was a tribe of demons called the cat people, and they looked something like this. The girl drew him a picture with a cat. At this time, Tori thought that it was definitely a cat. The girl said that cat people sometimes came to the cities, and residents shared their food with them. In return, they chased away parasites and thieves. They even stayed with people they liked, and they just lived a free life. But after a while, the Kijin tribe and the demon cat tribe had a baby, and this surprised the guy very much, and he asked what. But Mia stopped and asked him what it was. But the guy told her that it was nothing. At that moment, he thought that in fantasy, children of different races are a unique phenomenon. But no, it's not that unusual. And Mia went on to say that after a few generations, their blood mixed and they turned into modern cat people. And therefore, even if they are of the same race, some of their physical features are closer to one race and some to another. This surprised the guy. Tori told the girl that actually in his country, there are also such demons as a tribe of cats. He said they were called Neko. Mia asked him again, what a strange word that is. Tori said they were so adorable. People worshipped them. Mia asked him what they worshipped as gods. Tori replied that yes, people work hard and offer food to cats. And at the same moment, Mia thought about what kind of country Tori was from, and Tori said that but Mr. Neko would have to pay his price. Mia asked him what compensation was. Tori said that after the meal, a ritual called stroking the stomach is performed. And at the moment when Mr. Neko offers his belly for quench, it needs to fall face first into it. And the girl immediately asked again, ago. She asked the guy that he liked it, and he told her that of course. It was wonderful. Mia said that they don't have such a ritual in their country, but it all reminds Tori of her homeland. She said that if Neko and the cat demons are so similar, then she's probably the same. So if only she could do the same. And at the same moment, Mia felt sad. This was immediately noticed by Tori. He shouted at her that no, they were the size of a small dog, and if he had done this to her tail, he would not have forgiven himself for it. At that moment, Tori thought about calming him down. He knew he had to come up with something else, and so he turned to Mia. The girl looked at him with sadness in her eyes. Tori said that actually he prefers dancing radishes rather than Neko. He shouted that he loved the smell of greenery, and that made the girl smile a little. She even laughed at that. And so, after a while, Mia and Tori went outside. The girl turned to Tori and she thanked him for today. She told him that the food was delicious. The guy told her that no, he was glad that she liked everything. Mia also thanked the guy for the fish and vegetables. Tori told her that it was okay. His job was to make people happy. And so Mia told the guy that next time she would cook something for him. Mia told him that it might take her some time to get there, and when it's convenient for him, he can come. And the guy told her that he would. At that moment, she thought that she was not a very good cook. And so Mia told Tori that see you at the guild. And the guy told her that yes, of course. The girl started to leave and he waved at her. Meanwhile, night had already fallen. Tori lay there and said that today was a success. I guess you could say that. He said that he was nervous today and didn't know how to deal with Mia. But by the end, they had a good conversation. and they got to know each other better. He thought about how he died in Japan and was reborn in another world. He was weak in many ways, but now he has a power to be afraid of. And at first he was wondering what would happen. And now he has food, clothes, and shelter, and he thinks he can live well. He asks God to look after him. He lives like an adventurer, and it will become even stronger over time. He asked if Tori was an adventurer. He got out of bed and said that, but he wasn't even looking for them. Meanwhile, at Lord Richard's family home, in the kitchen, Chef Foggs tried different dishes, and he immediately shouted that he was delicious, and he showed his muscles. Foggs said that he did everything as Tori told him, and it's amazing. He turned to Tori and told him that it was not bad. Tori thought about what happened to his clothes. He replied to Foggs that no, it all depends on his skills, and the cook told him that even this salad was inspired by him. He had never seen such an idea in a court kitchen. He turned to Tori and told him that he was not only a good cook, but also very smart. The guy told him that, come on, it happens to everyone. And at that moment, Foggs turned to Tori and he asked him what about working in his kitchen. He said that he was sure that the gentleman would pay him well, and even he could live there, and he could see the lady every day. At that moment, Tori laughed awkwardly. He told him that he did not understand what he was talking about. Foggs said that in any case, he would be happy to work with him again. And Tori also told him that he would be happy too. And Foggs told him that now they had to give it to the lady. And the guy agreed with him. When Fleur got the angel salad, she was very happy about it. The girl said that it was a beautiful dish. Tori told the girl that he was thinking about Lady Fleur when he made it. He asked her how she was doing. The girl replied to the guy that it was just wonderful. And it's even too beautiful to eat. She told him that this dish is so beautiful that she can't stand the thought of it losing its shape. And she asked him what to do. She turned to Emma and asked her what they should do. Emma thought about it. She came up with something and said exactly. She suggested that she invite an artist and have him draw a salad, and Fleur liked the idea. She said that was it. She asked Portsmouth to take care of it immediately. Tori asked Miss Fleur that there was no need, but Portsmouth has already said that the artist is already there. She told them that she was glad to meet them, and this surprised the guy very much, and he shouted that they did it very quickly. Tori thought about why the salad was depicted in such an expensive painting. Fleur turned to Tori, and she told him that she saw that he was a great cook. Tori told her that no, the chef is a master of his craft. But Fleur told him that she hadn't eaten like this since she was a child, and Tori told the girl that this was a sign that she was already much better. The girl replied that yes, it was all thanks to him. She said that she had been training her gait very hard lately. She asked Emma to help her, and at the same moment Fleur got to her feet. This surprised the guy very much, and he said that, wow. Fleur told him that she could walk now, but at the same moment, the girl stumbled and she fell right into Tori's arms. The girl immediately began to apologize to him. She said that she got too carried away. Tori told her that, no, he was glad that she was okay. At that moment, Tori thought that she smelled so good. Portsmouth asked Emma what her expression was. Fleur said that if she looked like this, she would never become as cool as these adventurers. Tori turned to the girl, and he said that this book. Fleur asked him what he was about this one. She said it was an illustrated book about demons. It was compiled by a famous sage who was both an adventurer and a scholar. It's very interesting, both as a textbook and as an adventure book. She can give it to him if he's interested. The guy said, demons adventures, and he screamed, an adventurer. He ran up to Fleur and thanked her. She told him that yes, if he was so happy, then she was happy too. And then, a few hours later, Tori told Fleur that was all for today. The girl thanked him for this and asked him to come back. She said she had fun too. Suddenly, the girl said that this was an adventurer's handbook, and Tori did not have it. After a while, Tori returned home. He enjoys a slow life, but immediately his mood disappears. He only remembered about it yesterday. What a stupid head. He'd read in a book about goblins, orcs, giant toads. The guy noticed something in the book. It was slime. He thought about how one day he had given up fighting. He needs soul power to reincarnate again. God told him that he would have enough of it if he lived to be 80 years old. If he dies by then, he will not be reborn. That's why he needs to defeat the demons and restore his soul power. and he will always regret the missed opportunity, because if he continues to run away from the danger in front of him, then he will never change. In fact, he doesn't hesitate to eat both beef and fish. But he can't help but think about sacrificing others for himself. He wondered if there were any weak demons he could handle, and the slime is the weakest creature. There is no need to describe it. He said there wasn't too much description. And so, the next day, he went to the forest. He saw goblins and wolves passing by there. He said that goblins and wolves don't even come near him, due to the fact that intimidation has turned into intimidation. For now, he doesn't have to worry about being attacked, because he's alone in the forest. Even though his presence has increased, it reminds him of life in Japan. And so he came to a large building and said that he was there. He went inside it. The guy shone and said that everything is as it should be. Although he doesn't see any demons, he saw the slime. He could choose the commands to fight, run, spell, inventory. He was just looking at the slime. Tori was surprised at the size of it. He exhaled and said that he was big. And he means that, unless in this case you should run. But then he said no, he couldn't escape from the weakest monster. He took his sword and attacked the slime with the words that he was an adventurer. And at the same moment, he struck at him. He asked if he had succeeded in destroying the monster, but the slime only split into 2 parts, and he thought that there were more of them. In the games, slugs could even be killed with a wooden stick. The weakest creature shouldn't be able to reproduce using such a strong skill. Or, it's because he's weak. But then he noticed something. It's like they're consulting. He said that, well, if they continued to share like this, then one day he would win. But then the slug abruptly attacked the guy. Tori rolled head over heels away from him. Thus, Tori takes 2 damage. He thought that the book couldn't be lying.